Chapter 4885. Chapter 4885, Luo Yuan and Juzuo. Now, there are 4 great emperors inherited from Long Fei. In addition to Luo Yuan and Juzuo, there is the Emperor Yinyang. However, in the course of the heavens and earth, the process was too fast, and Long Fei had not completely passed the inheritance into his hands. However, the Emperor Luo Yuan had been killed by him, and the inheritance of Emperor Luo Yuan was naturally obtained by him. However, the complete inheritance of the remaining Emperor Juzuo and Emperor Yinyang failed to obtain Long Fei, and then the system collapsed and was reborn, and even the mission was gone, and the system of the 13 emperors naturally became history. Fortunately, this power of inheritance was obtained by Long Fei and naturally existed. As for the inheritance power of Emperor Juzuo, as early as when he met Xiao Yuer, the system has been trimmed this month, and it has already appeared. Obviously, the sister of the system gave you a performance. It can be said that the girl in the system accidentally resolved a worry of Long Fei. Of course, it is not just the power of Emperor Juzuo. Even the inheritance of Emperor Yinyang is deduced, but now Long Fei can't find anyone who can really inherit it. These 2 inheritance powers are really good for you. Xian Jade, you have a good temper, and Luo Yuanyuan's method is just as fierce as the charge, which is just right for you. Long Fei said. Long Fei's 9-strike power is still very impressive. How can one shot provoke the existence of a planet? Xuanyu is the most suitable for cultivation now. As for Xiaoyer, your heart is innocent, and you have the soft snake of the chain snake I made for you, born to discern the truth in the world, and to control the power of this turbidity, you can use the power of sin and sin in the world even further. Long Fei said, and then the power of 2 kinds of inheritance was broken into the hearts of the 2. Instantly, both eyes were happy. Relax, big bad guy. It won't let you down. Me too, Brother Long Fei. When we go out, we will be able to help you guard the Dragon Court. Xianyu and Xiao Yuer said. The resolute faces of the 2 people can be seen at a glance, not just talking. Long Fei nodded faintly. Guarding Long Ting, Long Fei doesn't need them at all, especially before going through the experience. It was the secret of Long Fei's determination that he would never let his woman fall into crisis. Then Xuanyu and Xiaoyer started to retreat, and Long Fei came to Longting. At this time, the 3 emperors and Jinyuan Zi also chose a room to start training. Wait quietly for the next move. 3 emperors, Senior Jinyuan, Long Fei has something to ask for. Long Fei said, lowering his attitude. Even if Long Fei's combat power is already above a few people, Long Fei has not performed too proudly. After all, these people originally chose to stand on their own side when they were in crisis. How could Long Fei be chilling? Long Fei, you finally woke up. During these 7 days, great changes took place between heaven and earth. Above the court of heaven, the Jade Emperor's temperament changed drastically, and the iron blood was general, clearing the court of heaven. Even the sage, who was too high, was imprisoned at his feet. As soon as Fuxi appeared, he said, "What, are you too imprisoned? Jade Emperor? He is such a big deal." Long Fei stunned. Some incredible. In just 7 days, how can such a shock happen? We have long known that the Jade Emperor is not simple. It is natural to be unique when he can experience so many disasters. However, I still did not expect to underestimate him. Fuxi Huang said, yes, his cultivation has already broken that step. Although he does not know what his word is, it is certain that it is certainly extraordinary. Otherwise, it is impossible to suppress the heaven and earth gods. Xianyuan Huang added, it seems that we want to replace heaven, and it is a bit difficult. The Emperor Shenong said lightly, with a little worry. Long Fei's expression was a meal, and he sighed when he thought of overturning the skies that day. If the Jade Emperor chooses to erupt at that time, it is still unknown what the results will be. Don't bother. No matter what he is going to do, it is impossible to stop my footsteps. But now, things in heaven can be put aside for a while. I plan to attack Lingshan every day. What do you think? Long Fei said. This point is also considered by Long Fei. Originally, Long Fei wanted to complete the mission only for Zihang. It is conceivable that there is a sage who leads this Buddha in the Pantheon building. It is easy to conquer Lingshan. Therefore, Long Fei was ready to step in one place and directly beat Huanglong. Offensive Lingshan? Long Fei, are you thinking? Fu Shihuang asked with a serious expression. There is nothing to think about. The saints are no longer attracted, and the saints have left this world. We want to take down Lingshan without hindrance. Long Fei said. The expression was extremely indifferent, but every word revealed extremely confident. Well, now that you have decided, we will naturally not quit. What we need to do is to say that. The three emperors are still hesitating, seeming to have some scruples. But Zhen Yuanzi spoke directly, apparently convinced Long Fei completely. After hearing Zhen Yuan's words, the three emperors had to put away the ideas in their hearts. Three emperors, is there something wrong? Long Fei asked. The three emperors themselves spoke, and their humane hope was in themselves, so there must be no disadvantages to themselves. They just heard that they were about to attack Lingshan, but they were all silent, which made Long Fei's heart a little incomprehensible. Long Fei, no secret. We also have no good opinion about Lingshan, but the Dharma is also really powerful. But unfortunately, the world's Buddhist gates are mostly hypocritical. But this is not to say that there is no real Buddha in Buddhism. If we directly attack Lingshan, it is also a loss to humanity. Fu Shihuang said, and expressed his thoughts. Long Fei's expression was slightly wrong. But for this sentence, Long Fei did not deny anything. There are still scums in the human race, and it is not impossible for people to truly practice and achieve fruitful positions among the Buddhist monks. What do you mean? Long Fei asked. As the ancestors of the three emperors, Long Fei naturally could not ignore them. It is impossible to abandon the other person's thoughts and to do exactly what he wants. We do know others, but three of them are born-to-life people and have a big cause and effect with my people. Among them, it will also affect the human race. Xianyuan said, 3? Who? Long Fei froze. One is Jizo, the other is Jianglier, and the other is Sun Wukong. Xianyuan said in a deep voice, and Long Fei's expression at this time was also momentarily staggered, and the expressions even read together. Crouching westbound. Long Fei was startled and couldn't help but say. Chapter 48:86. Chapter 48:86. Long Fei was shocked. The words of the three emperors made Long De's heart hesitant. Without it, just because these people are too familiar. Especially the monkey, Long Fei faintly remembered that in the Tianwu continent, the monkey swept enemies with a stick and bombarded the enemy. In other words, without a monkey, Long Fei would not be able to reach today. So shocking. Then where are they now? Long Fei asked. This is the point of the question. Lingshan Long Fei will not let go. His task is at hand, and there is the task of reenacting myth. No matter it is Tianting or Lingshan, it must be cleared. Although Long Fei is not a saint, he has already established humanity and naturally will take into account the impact in this regard. Hidden in hell, imitating the saints of the past, making great aspirations. I'm afraid that we'll be able to become a Buddha. As for Jiang Luer, after he passed the scriptures, he went back to Lingshan. However, It never appeared as if there were doubts about the law of the spirit mountain, and he had to concentrate on understanding the Buddha in his heart. As for Sun Wukong, it is unknown. Said the Emperor Shennong. Although they came out of Huiyun Cave, they were more concerned about the things in the three realms because of their attachment to the human race. Long Fei also paused slightly, turning his mind, and saying, "So, let's find these three people. Separately, these three people. Lingshan, I can go alone." Long Fei said, "The Lingshan can be temporarily stranded, but the mission of Guanyin is urgent. After all, there are only 7 days left. In 7 days, any accident may happen. Long Fei must prepare in advance." But when the three emperors heard it, Long Fei had to go to Lingshan again, and his eyes were helpless. "Rest assured, I'm here for Linghang alone." Long Fei said, "Now Lingshan has been closed, and everyone is in danger. Both Long Ting and Daqin are already a scimitar suspended above their heads." Buddhism giants scattered in their respective dojos also went to Lingshan one after another and could not escape the world. Therefore, if Long Fei wants to find Sihang, he must go to Lingshan. There is no second choice. But when the three emperors heard this, the worry in their eyes disappeared. Of course, they are not afraid of Lingshan, but they are afraid that Long Fei is too violent. If they kill Lingshan directly, they will have a great impact on the human race. Now, I heard that Long Fei was only for Sihang, and my heart was naturally relaxed. Sihang is a giant bodhisattva of Buddha's gate. I am afraid that if you go to Lingshan, you will inevitably have a fierce battle. Fushi Huang said suddenly, "Anyway, they dare not. Without this courage, there is no such strength." Long Fei said faintly. The three emperors staggered slightly, and then smiled bitterly. If someone else said this, fearing that it would be universal, no one would think that this person was normal, and they would all think that this person was crazy. But Long Fei said it, but there would not be any violations. He has the qualification and the ability to say this. Long Fei's eyes flashed a disdain at the moment. He didn't know how strong the people in Lingshan were. But since he broke through that step, the saints have not been a problem in front of themselves, let alone them. When thinking of this, Long Fei must have said in his heart, "Three emperors, the matter of the 3 Tibetans will be left to you. Jin Yuan seniors assisted you from Fat. You have a land book, although the fairy land is large, but there is a land book. You can reach where you want to go in a breath." Long Fei said. The four nodded and turned away. When several people left, Long Fei's eyes sank, and he became extremely solemn. The next moment, Long Fei stepped out of the Long Ting's main court, watching Guang Ao Yen and others under the shower of Xianmen Qiyun leading the dragons to practice. His eyes were slightly shocked. "Ao Guang, Ao Yen." Long Fei called out. The two immediately awakened from the retreat and looked at Long Fei. Their faces became instantly respectful. "Master!" Both spoke at the same time. As for Wan Long, he was awake at this time, and he was all stunned, with respect in his eyes. "Today, I will use the seal of Zulong to open up the supreme talents of ancient dragons for you. The process will be a bit painful, and there is even a life and death crisis. But as long as you can survive it, you will be able to break the world, condense yourself, and become the supreme." Long Fei said directly, "He has the seal of ancestors, which contains the ancient will of the dragons in the ancient world. It is the most suitable way to start the dragons to condense themselves. But after all, this is a mythical world. Using the will of the dragons in the ancient world to activate their talents and awaken their physical potential is an attempt in itself. Therefore, Long Fei cannot guarantee whether there is any danger in it. It is only now that the dragon race must undergo transformation. They are too weak, and there is no sense of existence in this mythical world. In this scene, Long Fei never wanted to see it. Moreover, as the dragon's reincarnation Win, the dragon family has been given to himself. At that time, Win led 1,000,000 ghosts to sweep across Amano, but the dragons under his own hands were vulnerable. At that time, his face was crackling. "Sir, we are willing to try and die without regrets. Yes, as long as we can make us stronger, no matter how painful we are willing to do it. After following the adults, our cuisine understands how proud my dragons were in ancient times. Now, it becomes like this. In addition to hate, hatred is the hatred for the gods and gods in the heart. Ask the adults to help us wake up and let us be able enemy." For an instant, the dragons roared one by one, and the light of hatred burst out from the huge dragon's eyes. This reaction made Long Fei extremely satisfied. If they had been enslaved by the gods and Buddhas for so long without any hatred, it would have been beyond Long Fei's expectations. "Well, since you are willing, then I will give you this opportunity to let you reborn and shake the heavens," Long Fei said, his eyes flashed. Then with a move in his hand, Zhu Longyin emerged directly from the system space. The next moment, Long Fei threw Zhu Longyin into the void, and his gaze was grim. "In the name of my dragonfly, give the mythical world the dragonfly back to the ancestors, taking my essence and blood as the guide, blending the ancestor dragons, meaning the Nirvana dragon family, regenerating the ancient talent." Long Fei Xinjin had a word, and immediately squeezed out dozens of drops of blood from his hand. Alas! At the moment when the essence and blood appeared, it merged directly into the Zulong seal, and at this moment, the Zulong seal directly floated into the void, turned into blood, and then released a horrible and unspeakable will. Roar! Hundreds of thousands of giant dragons roared out of the ancestral dragon's seal. Then his eyes sank, looking at the Wanlong above the dragon court below. A sorrow flashed in the huge dragon head, then dived down, turning into an endless rain of light, scattered on the dragon court. Even Ao Guang and Ao Yen were shrouded in it. Chapter 4887. Chapter 4887. Long Fei stood in the air, holding the Zulong seal in his hand, like a real dragon in the world. At this moment, all the dragons said by Long Ting have fallen into a deep sleep. The will of the ancestors and the seal of the ancestors, plus their own blood, is definitely an opportunity for the dragons. As Tong Long Fei himself said, as long as they can survive, they will be able to reborn and recreate the glory of the dragons of the past. However, this process is not necessarily short. Fortunately, it is now on Long Ting. There is a fairy gate and a Long Ting banner. Long Fei does not need to worry too much. At this moment, a figure quietly appeared on Long Ting, watching the figure of Long Fei silently. Long Fei turned slightly, saw Tu Shan Xiaoya's figure. His expression eased slightly. "Long Fei, Xiao Su, how's it going?" Tu Shan Xiaoya asked. At this moment, she didn't know whether she should be called Xiao Hong or Xiao Su, but no matter which one, it is her close relative. Hearing that Long Fei's expression was dark, and the whole person's mind was disturbed again. "Sorry," Long Fei said. The tone was extremely heavy. When Tu Shan Xiaoya's face changed, the whole person seemed to have lost her pillars and suddenly fell down. Long Fei's eyes were swift, his figure flashed, and he came directly to Tu Shan Xiaoya and held it in his arms. "Why, haven't you promised me to cure her?" With a questioning tone, Tu Shan Xiaoya was full of helplessness. "I said sorry, but I have no choice yet. But don't worry, one day I will resurrect her. Even repair is far better than today." Long Fei said in a deep voice, "The present Tushan Xiaosu has been placed in the system space. As long as the main line of the system remains, there is hope for resurrection." "Really?" Tu Shan Xiaoya's eyes brightened. Of course, what I said about Long Fei will definitely come true. Long Fei said. His eyes were like iron, unwavering. Okay, I still say that. As long as you can save her, I'm willing to follow you. Tu Shan Xiaoya said. Let's not say this first. You want to follow me. You are not strong enough now. Long Fei changed the subject and squared Tu Shan Xiaoya's figure. This Qingqiu Atlas is the treasure of the spirit fox. I can feel that there is an opportunity for you to wake up Jiwei. I believe that it is most suitable to control it in your hands. Long Fei handed over the Qingqiu Atlas to Tu Shan Xiaoya. Tu Shan Xiaoya looked expressionless and looked at Long Fei incredibly. Once upon a time, she dreamed of Qingqiu Atlas, and even suggested that as long as Long Fei found Qingqiu Atlas, she was willing to be a woman of Long Fei. But I didn't expect that now that I am down, I am willing to sacrifice myself. Long Fei has not agreed, but I gave the Qingqiu Atlas to myself. For a moment, Tu Shan Xiaoya's face was extremely dignified. Don't think about it. Xiao Rong should have all the spirit foxes now. It's also time for you to transform your spirit foxes. Moreover, you are the first to follow my Long Ting. I naturally will not let you chill. I hope you will surprise me in the next battle. Long Fei said, lightly soothing Tu Shan Xiaoya. Of course, if you put it before, Long Fei would never mind accepting Tu Shan Xiaoya, but now, not when your children are in love. Tu Shan Xiaoya focused on her head, and there was a rare softness in her eyes. Slowly peck on Long Fei's cheek, then turn away, calmly, as if nothing had happened. Long Fei was stunned, feeling a touch of wetness on his face and holding his fists. This time, Sister System gave me a chance to dissipate myself. How can I let you down? Since I'm fine, this time, let's start with Lingshan. Long Fei's eyes condensed, and she sank. Land government, endless purgatory. The water of the Styx has dissipated, but it is not dry, but moved. In the first battle of the Dragon Court, he became the most powerful between heaven and earth. For the first time, when also showed his terrifying strength and true history. All these things made the ancestors of the Mingi River frightened directly, and without any mention, directly with Dongyue Taihao, they moved out of the prefecture and fled directly to the monster. For now, the only thing that gives them a sense of security is the demon. Moreover, Yao Peng, the demon master of the demon clan, had a cause and effect with him that year, and the two were also old knowledge, so they could only go to the demon clan. With the withdrawal of the two, the entire prefecture also took complete control of the winning hands. The capital city of Badu, the winner and the loser stood, looking at the mighty land government with sharp eyes. The emperor is ready, the infernal purgatory of the prefecture has been opened, and the endless power of injustice contained in the millennia has completely awoken. Once a great enemy of the Qin dynasty, under the arrangement of the emperor, it was re-derived and turned into a ghost. Now they have divided themselves and occupied every corner of the land government. Bai Qi said, "Yes, I hope they don't disappoint you, and they will let Ye's millions of Qin soldiers leap into the sky." When said faintly, "If Long Fei is here, he will definitely feel shocked. You might even feel like winning. It's too crazy." Thousands of years ago, he was on the Earth government, unified the Six, unified the world. Now, in order to train soldiers, they once reunited their former enemies and appeared in the Seven Kingdoms. However, no madness, no Buddhahood. It takes such a large amount of capital to win. It is conceivable that once the Seven Kingdoms are destroyed, the combat power of 1 million Qin soldiers will inevitably be exploited to the maximum. At that time, even if it does not reach the level mentioned by Win, it will not be too far apart. At this time, Bai Qi suddenly said again, after the Yinshan mountain, In the endless hell, there have been bursts of Buddha light recently. It seems that Jizo should have achieved results. Bai Qi said, Jizo, Lingshan is a matter of Longfei. We don't need to intervene. However, you can pass this message to Longting. At least you should let him know. As for how to choose, it's up to him. Wen said faintly, Yes. Bai Qi arched his hand and stepped back. Come on, I have waited too long for this day. At that time, I once said that I was born to protect Huaxia, immortal forever, and incarnate as Dragon Soul to bless Huaxia forever. But now, this sentence should be changed. The widow would rather die, but let you, the corpse is everywhere. Winning his eyes for a moment, killing the sky, the picture turns again. At this time, Long Fei has come to Lingshan. Lingshan seals the mountain and disappears between heaven and earth. If it is not Long Fei who has broken that step and has the eyes of eternal life, it will break the imagination of the world. Long Fei, we come to Lingshan so grandly. Is there really no problem? Xuanzang asked. At this moment, she didn't want Long Fei to take any risks. Don't worry, it's just Lingshan. Don't worry. As for whether Lingshan is alive, it depends on their choice this time. Long Feiyo said, finally looking at the location of Lei Yin and Lingshan, with Xuanzang stepped out. Lingshan Buddhas, Longting Longfei came to collect debts. Longfei said loudly. Chapter 4888. Chapter 4888. Longfei's voice came out, extremely arrogant. The voice of one person crushed the thunder of the heavens. Rumble. At an instant, the ups and downs of spirit on Lingshan suddenly condensed because of Longfei's words, as if uneasy. On the Lingshan mountain, the giant Buddhist monk headed by Rulai changed his face. Thinking that before Longfei was in trouble in the heavenly court, they sent fear of staying with Sun and Pu Xian, but now the cause and effect cycle, Longfei ascended to Lingshan. Crazy, he has turned the sky and earth, and fought against the Holy One. Why wouldn't he let me go? I must report, this person has a fierce character, and never thought about letting me out of Lingshan. Abominable, how good is this? This son is already comparable to a saint. We Lingshan cannot bear it at all. Within the thunderbolt, countless changes in the face of Lingshan monks. Although they are Buddhas, they are not really pure in the six roots. They really have no desires, no surprises. Faced with the threat of death, they will also be afraid. They have definitely entered that realm and will definitely not be embarrassed with them. But they were wrong, and they were very wrong. Long Fei never wanted to let them go. This time, if it was not for the three emperors to persuade, Long Fei would not go to Lingshan by himself, directly go to the army, and completely wipe out. All of a sudden, everyone on Lingshan was frightened and terrified. My Buddha, how is this good? Now, even the saints are dead. Who can save us from this world? My Buddha, this time the dragonfly is not good. We must be prepared. This time the dragonfly is just one person. It's better that we open Lingshan and save him together. I don't believe it. We can concentrate all our strength in Lingshan, and we can't save him. Voices reappeared, with fear and indignation, and desperate. Rulai laughed. Spell. What to use to fight it? Even the saints could not stop Long Fei. How could they be blocked by their Lingshan? But at this moment, above the Lingshan, a figure slowly got up. Amitabha finally came. I am a Buddha, and I have a feeling in my heart today. One of my calamities has arrived. It seems that it should be related to Long Fei. Siai Hang stood up and folded his hands. Huh, Tsihang Bodhisattva, why do you say that? Rulai asked with a certain expression on her face. My Buddha should know that I once cut a good corpse, but I didn't care about it. But I never thought that the good corpse has supernatural understanding and conforms to the Buddha's Tao. He walked out of the world in the name of the Buddha. All beings are suffering. Therefore, I joined the heavenly courts to kill him. I never thought that her mana was comparable to mine. After being seriously injured, I was imprisoned under the Styx. I just didn't expect that this person had an intersection with Long Fei. I had already annihilated her will, but I felt an arrogant and extremely huge energy entering her body, and she wrapped her will. Now, it seems that it should be the strength of Long Fei. So, Long Fei came this time, no matter what the outcome of Lingshan. I'm in danger. Xiai Hang's eyes were deep. His practice is also extremely transcendent, and after practicing Buddhism, he is proficient in cause and effect, so he has deduced some clues. It is so, but Sihang Bodhisattva, rest assured that you are my giant spirit mountain. We cannot send you to Longfei for the safety of the spirit mountain anyway. For example, his face was equally firm. And at this time, the whole Lingshan was roaring again. Lingshan, do you want to be a tortoise? I'll give you a minute. Lingshan will not open, and you will be at your own risk. Long Fei's voice came again, still arrogant, as if an ultimatum issued directly in Lingshan. At this moment, the people above Lingshan were all angry. Once upon a time, their spirit mountain was high, and the first beings worshipped. But now, Long Fei alone pulls them down from the altar, making them afraid to speak. Even if Long Fei hits the door, they dare not say a word. Well, let's open the Buddha's door. Some things can't be avoided in the end, Rulai said in a deep voice. At this time, he was really afraid of Long Fei's shot. Long Fei's realm was beyond them. As soon as he shot, the whole Lingshan was afraid that it would be ruined. Instead, he might as well open the door and see what happened to Long Fei. At the next moment, as Rulai moved, Lingshan's gas was agitated, and the whole Lingshan began to emerge slowly. Above the void, Long Fei watched Lingshan appear silently. Rumble! Suddenly, the thunder rolled. The main body of Lingshan, the Lei Yin Temple, also appeared in front of it, whizzing. At this time, the gate of Lei Yin Temple also opened suddenly. Two Buddhist monks stepped out of it and watched Long Fei above the void, folded their hands together, and looked respectfully. Welcome to the Lord of the Dragon Court. My Buddha has opened the door of the Buddha, waiting to be driven. The Comer said, respectfully, and did not dare to make trouble. Long Fei stunned, a little aggressive. The relationship between him and Lingshan has long been like a fire and water. Either you die or the degree of my life. Even if I went to Lingshan today, Long Fei didn't expect to be good. However, Lingshan's attitude made Long Fei feel wrong. What he thought was quite different. Long Fei, what kind of medicine is this for? Lingshan will be so kind. Xuanzang said, apparently did not expect Lingshan to have such an attitude. In her perception, Lingshan would either be unable to shrink or go out to fight, but she did not expect to be so humble. It is completely different from the Buddhist gate in her impression, but Long Fei, with a chuckle at the corner of his mouth. They do this only to prove that they are not stupid. If they guess well, they are ready to treat Sihang as an abandoned son. Long Fei said lightly. Long Fei was not surprised that Sihang could perceive it. After all, their cultivation is not weak. Although they did not make that step, they are not far from that step. Moreover, the Buddhist monk practiced cause and effect. Now he came with the cause himself, and it would be strange if he could not perceive the effect. As soon as he thought about it, Long Fei didn't have any jealousy in his heart. He took Xuanzang and walked towards Lingshan step by step. Upon entering the thunder, the huge thunder roared constantly, as if hostile to Long Fei. Long Fei glanced around his mouth and looked up at Lei Yin Temple. A thunder of heaven and earth is brewing in it, and under the nourishment of Lingshan Qiyun, thunder sounds continue to erupt. Of course, This is also a power of their practice, so that the power of the Buddhist monks can suppress evil and have natural restraint against demons. The Buddhas of Lingshan have already surrendered, and you dare to make a force by the saint who has been inserted here? Long Fei said softly. A flash of violent light flashed in his eyes. Then he leapt forward and entered the endless spiritual mountain luck. Scatter! With a loud scream, Long Fei fiddled with both hands, and countless Lingshan Qian began to flee, disappearing directly, leaving only a thunder which was presented to Long Fei. Today's thunder, it's my turn, Long Fei said faintly, walking quietly in the courtroom. In one step, walking in front of the thunder of this day, holding up with one hand, invincible posture crushed down. Chapter 4889, Chapter 4889, Above the Lingshan. All the Buddhist monks dared to anger and not speak. They watched Long Fei take away the sound of thunder, but said nothing. They knew that Lingshan was not the former Lingshan. Even today, what their fate is, they are all in the hands of Long Fei. They cannot help it at all. Long Fei was running wild, stepping into Lane Temple step by step. No, Lane Temple at this time is no longer Lane. If you miss today, you can only call it a temple. Upon entering it, Long Fei could feel the hatred and injustice of the Lingshan Buddhas. In their eyes, bitter hatred was revealed, but they could only look at each other and face Long Fei without saying a word. Amitabha, Lord of the Dragon Court, you have established the world. Why bother with my spirit mountain? Just then, Rulai began to speak. Above the lotus platform, Rulai Baoxiang's solemnity, when given a glance, felt extremely compassionate. Unfortunately, under the eyes of eternal life, you can see through at a glance. Everyone said that the Buddha has 1,000 faces, unable to face, no self, and no beings. But Rulai, don't you think it's interesting to use such a method in front of me? Long Fei said lightly. No matter what they present, Long Fei can see through the essence at a glance, and what he sees is the nature of Rulai. Amitabha, the Lord of the Dragon Court, is serious. My Buddha is compassionate, and this is what this seat should have. Ru said, This seat? Do you dare to call a seat in front of me? Long Fei said with a cold eye, extremely violent, I have the soul esteem and directly break the final calmness of Rulai. Lord of the Dragon Court, I have given you enough face. What do you want? Although you are capable of fighting saints, there are some things that you see and count if you say, you should go to my Lingshan today for the Bodhisattva of mercy. Let me tell you, it's useless. Even if the person is resurrected or even replaced, it is useless. There is no endorsement of Buddhism. He can only be regarded as a person outside the Buddha and can never be corrected. For example, it seems to want to persuade the dragonfly, gives up his thoughts. I am the Buddha who Long Fei wants to create, and use you to seal it? Long Fei asked in return, without giving face at all. He had thought about this problem for a long time, but since the system has given the task, Long Fei has to do it anyway. Okay, Lord of the Dragon Court, since you are so arrogant, then you have nothing to say today. What do you want to say directly? I'll have to live and die long ago without fear of you. Rulai's face changed with a little anger. Several times he was beaten by Long Fei, and he was worthless in the face of Lingshan Buddha. Even Buddha is angry, can break life or death. In this case, you lie to them. You are nothing but a break his life and death. If you come, don't think that I don't know. You in front of you are just an avatar. Your true body doesn't know how to run. Where did it go? So, even if it is dead, it is just a clone, and it has no effect on you. Long Fei sneered. The moment he entered this, he already understood the problem. So he was aggressive in order to let Rulai admit it, in order to expose Rulai's true face to the public. Sure enough, with the sound of Long Fei falling, countless Buddhas and Arhats in Lane Temple all looked at Rulai. Rulai smiled, slightly. Long Fei, you don't have to sow dissension. How this seed is done is my business. Moreover, I believe that the Buddhas can understand. After all, I am for Lingshan unification. Ru said, but when Long Fei heard this, it was a cold hum. Tian is not shameful, but it is so. No more nonsense. You should be grateful. If it wasn't for you standing on the Lingshan mountain for many years and having a lot of involvement with the human race, otherwise I wouldn't be here alone, but the army would be under pressure to completely annihilate your Buddha door. Long Fei said, eyes closed. Turn and look at Sihong. Sihong also folded his hands. The Lord of the Dragon Court, why are you fighting against each other? This is my own business. Her words, if it is really feasible, will not be suppressed by me. Siai Hang flashed a bitterness on his face and said, it's your own business? So, you need to use the sticks to suppress it? Long Fei sneered. This sentence is a joke. He was sure that the reason why Siai Hang wanted to suppress at all costs was because of fear. Fear that Master Xuanzang's Tao would suppress him in turn, and his ending would certainly not be better. Then this is the sin of Heiha. Why are you bothering me? Siai Hang's tone changed slightly. He understood that Long Fei arrived today, and he would not let him go, just a word, but just want to do the final struggle. Now, seeing Long Fei talking about the Ming River, the emotions in his heart were difficult to suppress, and he asked directly, I don't want to let go of Mingi, but you do the same. If you are really fair between life and death, there are natural ways of doing things, and whoever has the strongest path will stay. But you can use the heaven to summon Mingi. Suppress it, that's all. It. Long Fei said. Between words, the killing intention on his body is also surging. Suddenly, Siai Hang's face was full of panic. He looked for Rulai in general. My Buddha, save me. You said before that Lingshan coexisted and died with me. Siai Hang was really scared. At that time, Ling Ran stood up just to provoke the words to protect him. Now that Long Fei's breath has changed. He has oppressed him and can't breathe, so he can't help but ask for mercy. Unfortunately, he was wrong. Wrong too far. If Rulai really has the determination to protect him, he will never stay here. Sihong Bodhisattva. All the causes of fate will be doomed to heaven, because heaven is the reason. Since your Lord of the Dragon Court comes to ask for sin, it is this seat, and it is difficult to protect you. Let him go. Rulai's face remained unchanged, calmly said. As for the other people in Lingshan, at this time they did not dare to speak. Although they were a bit dissatisfied with Rulai, they also wanted to see this result. After all, they were not willing to accept it because they were in crisis for a kind flight. Seeing this scene, the bitterness on Siai Hang's face was even more intense. How he is still unclear. He has become the abandoned son of Lingshan, the abandoned son of Buddhism. Long Fei, I can go with you, or even let her avoid Fengzheng Road, but you have to give me a chance and let me talk to her. If her words are really stronger than me, I will give up instinct. She completed her. Siai Hang said gently, grasping the last straw for life. Good. Long Fei agreed, without hesitation. This is the opportunity of Master Xuanzang, but also his own chance. He knew that by killing Siai Hang, Xuanzang's master might be able to wake up, but in that case, his task would not be able to be accomplished at all. But if it is Master Xuanzang who defeated Siai Hang by herself, then she is a fair person. Your own tasks will naturally be completed. Chapter 4890. Chapter 4890. Siai Hang has also confessed his life. In front of Long Fei, he knows that he has no chance of winning. He knew that even resistance was useless. Therefore, At this moment, the second best thing is to die. And to survive, I want to fight for that vitality through the theory. And Long Fei promised to let him feel a joy in his heart. As long as Long Fei agrees, the outcome of that argument is unknown, and there is still the possibility of continued existence at that time. And Long Fei did not have any hesitation. Now that Ci Hang has decided to leave with him, the rest of the matter can only wait to return to Long Ting. The next moment, Long Fei turned directly and left Lingshan with Ci Hang and Xianzong. At this moment, everyone on Lingshan was suddenly relieved, all relieved. Long Fei's departure at this moment proves that they are safe. At least, there has been no killing. After all, Long Fei is too scary. It is a killing in the world, and they can destroy their spirit mountain between backhands. Now they can send it away, and they are naturally very happy about this result. Amitabha, here is the cause and effect. The crisis in our spiritual mountain has finally been lifted. Rulai talked about it without feeling sad because of Ci Hang's departure. Instead, there was a feeling of congratulations, and his word was naturally recognized by thousands of Buddhas on Lingshan. Sihang Bodhisattva dedicated himself to my spiritual mountain. This is great compassion. I will definitely remember the grace of Sihang Bodhisattva, and I will never forget it. If possible, when the saint returns, we would also abandon the corpse, join the saint, and kill the dragon court. Countless Buddhists have spoken one after another, but these words, they dare to talk here. In front of Long Fei, they dare not say a word. By this time, Long Fei had taken Sihang himself across the void. Sihang, you switched to Buddhism. Have you ever regretted it now? Long Fei sneered. Lingshan's attitude was too cold, and even Rulai really did not know where he had run, and only one of them remained here, which is self-evident. Moreover, when facing the need to take away Sihang, there was no word at all, and Lingshan Wanfo was silent. How could this attitude not be chilling? No regrets, but only for that step. You have already taken that step, and naturally you don't know the temptation of that step. Whenever there is a silver lining, I have to try. Ci Hang said, extremely calm, as if not worried about what happened next. Long Fei was stunned. He had a system in hand. Naturally, he wouldn't worry about the limitation of cultivation, and naturally didn't know how important that step was for the practitioner. However, Long Fei will not be soft on Ci Hang. Because of this, Xianzong, at this time looking at Xing Zihang, had a fire in his eyes, anxiously wishing to erupt. If it wasn't for Long Fei's decision ahead, she would definitely open a sword and slay the lotus flower and kill the past. After a while, Long Fei looked in front of him, still shrouded in the luck of Xianmen, and the dragons who were undergoing metamorphosis gave birth to a look of expectation. In just 3 days, the metamorphosis of the dragons has been visible to the naked eye. Each dragon has grown to the size of thousands of feet, and the scales have turned out, revealing a breathtaking atmosphere. From the perspective of cultivation alone, it is already the Deluo realm. Even the big Deluo, looking at the 3 realms, is something that he would never even think of. But Long Fei knows that although this strength looks great, it is not enough. It is simply not enough to face the future existence. Could Sihang didn't know. Looking at the dragon in front of him, during the continuous slumber, he gradually opened up the talents of the dragon family, becoming horrible, and his heart was shocked to an infinite extent. Lord of the Dragon Court, these dragons, did you help them awaken their talent? Ci Hang said lightly, suppressing the shock in his heart as much as possible. In fact, my heart was shocked to the extreme changes of the dragon race now. So horrible. He had begun to practice before the ancient heaven and earth god's mansion came out. Naturally, he knew that the blood genius and physical power of the dragons had gradually closed down over time. However, we also know how terrible the ancient dragons are. Therefore, at this moment, when I see the dragons in the dragon court, they are recovering their combat power step by step. How can they not be shocked? This is the glory that the dragon clan should have, but it is the ancestor of the Tao of Heaven. For the sake of their own plans, they have deprived them of their power. Now I am just the owner. Long Fei did not hide the changes of the dragon family. Of course, naturally, he also has his purpose, that is to shock Xi Hang and to cause trouble and doubt in his mind in the course of his discourse. In a blink of an eye, Long Fei took Xi Hang to the dragon court, stepped out, and sat directly on the main seat of dragon court. He is the Lord of Dragon Court, and it is reasonable to sit in this position. However, the moment when Long Fei sat on this action, the momentum of the whole person suddenly changed, and the whole person was full of arrogance. Now invincible. Xi Hang, you have to take turns, and I will give you this opportunity. Now, contact you to suppress her. I will witness you this time. However, I can promise you that you won't take a shot midway until you win or lose. Long Fei said, lightly. This time the sermon is not only about Master Xuanzang's life and death, but also his task. Therefore, Long Fei will never intervene. If Master Xuanzang wins, Guanyin is up and the mission is complete. If he loses, even if Long Fei makes a shot, it is just a strong act that leaves his life. But when the mission time was over and the mission could not be completed, she could not escape. So, this time, she can only rely on herself. Xi Hang looked at Long Fei, who was high above him, and his eyes flashed brilliantly. Well, with the words of your Lord of the Dragon Court, I will be assured. In this case, arrange his true body. I will let him wake up. Xi Hang said seriously. As soon as Long Fei's voice changed, his mind moved, the glory of the system space flashed, and Master Xuanzang's figure fell directly. However, at this moment she was still in a deep coma and showed no sign of waking. The next moment, I saw Xi Hang's hands emblazoned in his mouth and murmured in his mouth. Master Xuanyuan's body began to shroud mysterious light at this moment. When Xian Guang entered the body, Master Xuanyuan's face began to show a painful expression, and then his eyes opened suddenly. Amit Ba! Master Xuanzang slowly got up, looked at Xi Hang, and then turned to look at Long Fei. Miao Shan has seen the Lord of the Dragon Court. Thank you for the life-saving grace of the Lord of the Dragon Court. Chapter 48:91. Chapter 48:91. Miao Shan folded his hands and worshipped Long Fei-ing. Long Fei's eyes also fluctuated, and his heart was extremely shocked. Miao Shan, isn't it Guanyin? Long Fei's heart moved and thought. More importantly, he thought that Miao Shan was always out of a coma and he had no idea what he had done. This seems not to be the case today. It goes without saying that you are the master of Xuanzang, and Xuanzang is my woman. Doing this is my business. However, the next argument is that I will not take any action. As for you, it is life. It is dead and still in his own hands. Long Fei said, lightly, Miao Shan knows that although the Lord of the Dragon Court is assured, I will explain the situation to Xuanzang and will not let him blame you. Miao Shan nodded. Okay, though you have to remember that you only have 4 days. Once the 4 days have passed, even if you are undefeated, the result will be death. Long Fei spoke sharply and said, at this point, there are only 4 days left until the end of the mission. If Miao Shan cannot be sealed and become Guanyin within 4 days, then even if there is no failure, it is useless. The power of the system cannot be reversed. Long Fei will never believe that at that time. What power can avoid the punishment of the system? For days. Miao Shan gave a slight expression, then nodded silently. Xi Hang, on the other hand, changed his face, and the color of hope in his eyes became a little richer. although he did not know why Long Fei said that there were only 4 days. For him, it was opportunity, opportunity. As long as he can stay undefeated for 4 days, and when he wins, it will naturally belong to him. With this in mind, the anxiety of C.I. Hang's face reduced a little. My deity, you and I are one. I speak with you, and I know the truth. However, your Tao is not worthy of being a Buddha. At this time, Miaoshan also said, "It's ridiculous that you are the corpse I cut out, and the Tao rhyme you perceive is just a gift from me. To put it bluntly, you just stole the Tao fruit in case. This way you dare let courage talk to me?" C.I. Hang looked disdainful, and even angry. "I don't deny what you said. Therefore, I am willing to use 3 days to abandon the cause and effect that you have left on me. I would like to get rid of all the shadows about you in my Tao. Endure the fire of the Tao. The last one on the day, I will argue with you again, and then you will know how outrageous you are." Miaoshan folded his hands and said lightly. Long Fei's eyes narrowed slightly, and his heart was incredible. Originally, there were only 4 days left. Long Fei had no absolute hope for Miaoshan in his heart, but he did not expect that Miaoshan would take the initiative to open up, withstood 3 days of fire, and eliminated all the causes and effects of Tsihang. Then on the last day, the discourse will begin. 3 days of scorching heart? The last day to talk about it? Ridiculous. However, since you seek your own way of death, do I have any reason to be incomplete? C.I. Hang sneered, then looked at Long Fei. Lord of the Dragon Court, you also saw that this matter has nothing to do with me. She asked for it. I hope that you can keep your promise and not shoot. C.I. Hang turned and said. Long Fei groaned slightly and did not speak. From the perspective of Long Fei, it is too big. If Miaoshan starts now, in 4 days, maybe it will be alive again, but on the last day, it is impossible to achieve. Miaoshan, are you serious? Long Fei asked back. He even wondered if it was Tsihang who moved his hands and feet, although the suppression was lifted and Miaoshan was awakened. But Miaoshan's performance now is to force himself to the absolute road. I also hope that the Lord of the Dragon Court will allow Miaoshan's heart to be determined. If not, without the fearless determination, my word will not be perfect. Miaoshan folded his hands together. Indifferent in words, nothing like a joke. Call. Long Fei took a deep breath, and now he doesn't know how to choose. The failure of the mission, although it will make Long Fei regret, but if Miao Shanshan falls, it will hit Xianzong at that time, but Long Fei does not want to see. But at this moment, Xianzang's figure pushed directly into the door. Long Fei, promise me, master. Since my master decides things, I believe she must have her own intentions. Xianzong said, looking at Long Fei. She was already begging. Okay, in this case, it is as you wish. Long Fei said. Since Xianzong has such great confidence in Miaoshan, Long Fei naturally does not want to let Xianzong be disappointed. In an instant, 3 days passed by. During these 3 days, Long Fei has been immersed in self-cultivation. The coffin of eternal life and the power of Dantian are the forces he wants to develop most. Moreover, he has now given the Slayer's sword to win the hook. With the first 2 swords of the King of Blades, although he can crush the heavens and resist the saints, it is not enough. However, the 3 days were too short, and Long Fei didn't get any improvement at all. In the early morning of the 4th day, Long Fei awoke from the retreat. This day is the last day of the mission, and it is also the day when Miaoshan and Tsihang debate the Buddha. Long Fei moved out of the retreat and went straight to the place where Miaoshan retreat was. But when Long Fei pushed the place of Miaoshan retreat, the big expression on his face suddenly faded. At this moment, Miaoshan was wounded, and the fire was burning, although the cause and effect of Tsihang on his body had been annihilated and burned. However, Miaoshan's own way was also damaged, making Miaoshan, at this moment, very weak. How could this be? Long Fei's anger loomed. Hope for Miaoshan also turned into infinite disappointment. I thought that today's Miaoshan would surprise himself, but I didn't expect that there would be no surprise, only fright. The Lord of the Dragon Court is assured there is something in Miaoshan's heart. Now, I have abandoned all the causal relationships with Tsihang, and I owe him everything. Then, I will argue with him, Miaoshan said, holding her body up, stood up, and then came to Long Fei with the help of Xianzong. Then she worshipped Long Fei again. The Lord of Long Ting, Miaoshan, went to talk first, and when I came back, I also hoped that the Lord of Long Ting would fix it for me. Miaoshan said in a deep voice. Long Fei froze, his face stunned. He really didn't understand why, at this time, why Miaoshan still had such a big determination. However, this is the end, and even if Long Fei is a little disappointed, he has to continue. After a while, Miaoshan came to the main hall of Longting, and Ci Hang's figure had stood in the hall. It seemed to have been waiting for a long time. At the moment when Miaoshan's figure appeared, Ci Hang flashed in a certain harsh color. Miaoshan, right between you and me, solve everything today. Ci Hang said coldly, with determination and arrogance in his eyes, as if victory belonged to him. Chapter 48:93. Chapter 48:93. Long Fei sank and entered Dantian. At this moment, Long Fei was like creation, and he looked at the chaos in his Dantian, splitting apart. The fire of nature sprang up from Dantian first, and circled in Dantian, illuminating the entire Dantian. Immediately afterwards, the fire of nature began to split, turning directly into the sun, the moon, and the stars over Yokohama. And the endless chaos after the development of the Dantian turned into a very thick heaven and earth aura. Long Fei has not seen this kind of spiritual power, but what is certain is that it is definitely much stronger than the magical aura of this mythical world, even the ancient world, and the heavens and worlds that Long Fei walked on. Ding! The system detects an unknown power. Players can cultivate and become their own practices. May I ask players, do you cultivate? Also at this time, the sound of the system suddenly appeared. Cultivation, Long Fei said directly. At this time, Long Fei had no possibility of refusal. For a moment, as Long Fei's voice fell, a majestic force began to wreak havoc in his Dantian. In an instant, his limbs and bones were freed, and flesh and bone marrow was shuttled. And Long Fei's own strength suddenly increased at this time. However, because Long Fei has the power of the system, even if Dantian's power is even better, when Long Fei's self-cultivation has not surpassed the current level of detachment, it is impossible for him to make a breakthrough. Long Fei, while feeling the horrific ascension of his own cultivation, watched the evolution in Dantian intently. Soon, his own Dantian was divided into three. The uppermost is the universe star field, the middle is the sun and the moon, and the lower is the mountains and rivers. Ai Chao, the system girl, once said that one of the worlds in my Dantian may have bred one party. Now, it seems that it is even better than one party. This is a complete world, Long Fei exclaimed, and the more he looked, the more he was shocked. At the same time, I was a little grateful for Long Batian. At the beginning, if it wasn't for Dragon Batian to take him to experience ancient times from nothing and plant the root of attainment for him, it would not be possible today. Long Batian, you should be recovering now. Just right, when I return to the ancient world. I hope this power will give you a surprise. Long Fei's eyes flashed with great anticipation. At this time, The breath in Dantian was still raging, as if it were inexhaustible and inexhaustible. Ding! Congratulations to the player to achieve the current level of detachment. The physical power can no longer accommodate more, and it has automatically stopped. A system beep appears. Long Fei took a stun and did not expect that it took such an blink of an eye. After his own strength was baptized by the breath opened up by Dan Tian, he had reached this level. The only thing that regrets Long Fei is that due to system limitations, it can only end here. But Long Fei also knew in his heart that this power was too huge, and his physical body now couldn't bear much. Only after the power of the coffin of eternal life is opened, the avatars are merged to become the eternal life, and then continue to improve. But even so, Long Fei was already very satisfied. Before, he did not have the power of Dantian. Although his Dantian existed, he never cultivated fruit. All that he could rely on was the system. Later, the avatars were opened up, and the avatars would practice together. They would have merged, but because of the change in the coffin of eternal life, they had to be buried in the coffin of eternal life. Today, because Xi Hang and Miao Shan argue, Long Fei has associations, immediately realizes, opens Dan Tian, and directly upgrades his cultivation to such a horrible level. Of course, this is definitely not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Long Fei has an intuition that even if he is facing the existence of the order of life, it is not impossible. Upgrading now, the only thing that can be verified is win. The sage is not my opponent anymore. When the matter here is resolved, I will confirm it. Long Fei thought to himself. The next moment, Long Fei thought of it and quit Dantian directly. At present, Dantian has been opened up, and the physical strength has also increased to the extreme. It is useless to continue the retreat. After going out, Long Fei didn't stop at all, went straight to the main hall of Long Ting. At least, he didn't receive the sound of the system prompt now, which shows that the argument between the two is still not over. At this time, in the main hall, Xihang and Puxian's powers had been completely integrated, and they were difficult to separate. Although wonderful, it is magnificent. But Xihang's actions should not be underestimated. At least, Long Fei was able to suddenly realize, also because of Xihang. Long Fei, so fast? Your retreat is over? Xuanzang froze with a few surprises, with a wrong look. From leaving to returning, it was only a few hours, or so that she couldn't believe that Long Fei had closed her retreat. Anyway, it's over, and my combat power has soared. Long Fei said lightly, without explaining more, but interrupted Xuanzang and asked, "How's it going?" Unclear, but the words of both are extremely extraordinary. After you left, the two never spoke, but their strength has soared. If I had not seen it with my own eyes, I would not believe that Xihang had such a terrible method. Xuanzang said. Long Fei nodded. Xihang is naturally not simple. He doesn't say that he was one of the golden immortals under the preaching, and then invested in the Buddhist gate, and he wanted to break that step. It is very normal to have this kind of heritage. It is your master that surprised me. Don't forget, she is just a good corpse of Xi Hang. Long Fei said. The next moment, Long Fei turned his gaze and looked at Xi Hang and Miao Shan. At this time, the strength of the two was inextricably indistinguishable. Even the figures of Xihang and Miao Shan began to be approached by this force, constantly approaching, as if spinning in a storm, terrifying. But Long Fei's face was getting ugly. Crouch, is this a fit? Long Fei was taken aback. The changes in front of him were too unexpected. He never thought of such a result. He originally thought that the argument between the two would be Buddha, and in the end, only one person would stay. Never thought that the strength of the two would be integrated. Even their bodies began to merge gradually. What fit? Long Fei, did my master have an accident? Xianzong said quickly, anxious on her face. I don't know if it was an accident or even your master. I don't know. Now, everything can only wait. Long Fei Shen said, this situation can no longer be cracked. Even if it was Long Fei, there was no way to intervene. If he took the shot, I was afraid that two people would die under the strength of Long Fei, and neither could stay. Therefore, at this moment, we can only continue to wait. Wait until the strength between the two disappears before you can see for sure. But at this moment, above the void, there was a murmur. In the dojo, two voices also appear at this moment, viewing the Bodhisattva. Prajna Parmitha has been walking for a long time. Chapter 4894. Chapter 4894. Remember, in 1 second, 69. Wonderful non-pop-up window to read for free. Bursts of chanting appeared out of thin air. Instantly, like a thunderous thunder, around the entire dragon court. With the emergence of this melodic sound, the dragon family that was undergoing transformation on the dragon court also slowly opened their eyes. And the radon in the dragons, I was also washed by this sound. But this does not affect their talent development, and can even preserve their psyche to the greatest extent, so that they will not die in the process of developing talent. Long Fei was extremely horrified. The emergence of this kind of power can be said to have saved him a worries. He had said before that the development of the dragon's talents might be accidental or even fall into it. At this time, the presence of this sutra directly added a layer of protection to them, which saved them from calamity. Heart Sutra? Observing the Heart Sutra? Long Fei's eyes moved, and her pupils shrank. It was incredible. If there is no Guan Yin in this world, where's the Heart Sutra? Now that the Heart Sutra appears, does it mean that Guan Yin has already become? Long Fei was extremely excited. However, the system did not prompt, and Long Fei could not jump to conclusions. He could only look at the center of the main hall and kept staggering. At this time, the chanting voice became louder and clearer, and above the center position, the two figures were completely fused together, becoming one. Just at this moment, ding, congratulations to players, complete system tasks, reshape the real Buddha in the world, and unite the Guanyin Buddha. System sounds also appear at this time. Ding, congratulations to players for getting 1,000 activation rolls and 50,000 Legion coins. Guanghua flashed, and the reward after the completion of the task went directly into the space of the Legion system. However, at this time Long Fei had no intention to pay attention to these. What he cares more about is what happened so that this system task can be completed inexplicably. However, in the field, it was still shrouded in endless light of Tao Yun. Even Long Fei couldn't see it. Eternal eyes. Long Fei said without any hesitation. He directly used the power of eternal life to open the eyes and began to glance. Brush. At a glance, Long Fei took a breath. What is going on here? Long Fei's heart is amazing, and he was taken aback by what he saw at the moment. There was indeed one person on the field, but it is extremely unusual. Amitabha, the Lord of the Dragon Court, has become more complete, and now my argument with Miaoshan is over. It was Cihang, and Cihang's voice came out first. As soon as this remark was made, Xian Zhang's entire body collapsed to the ground, as if all expectations had vanished at this moment. With a sad face, tears appeared in his eyes, and he wanted to get out of his eyes. But just then, another voice appeared. Amitabha Buddha, there is no Guanyin in the south. Thank you for the completion of the Lord of the Dragon Chamber. This voice is wonderful. As soon as this statement was made, Xian Zhang's expression was directly staggered on the spot, and the tears in her eyes were directly frozen on her face. Don't look at me. I don't know what's going on. Long Fei said with a shrug. This result was far beyond his expectations. He never even thought that would be the case. You merged? Long Fei asked. In Long Fei's prediction, there was only one result between the two: either you died or I died, and the second result would not occur at all. After all, on Taoism and Buddhism, one person is upright. This is a problem that both Zihang and Miaoshan knew before. But now, the two have been fused together. Boom boom. At this time, Guanghua dispersed, and the scene in the field was completely exposed. Master! Xuanzang was startled, breaking his tears and smiling. There was only one person in front of her, and that was Miaoshan. Then, Xuanzang was about to run over, but was stopped by Long Fei. Long Fei, what's wrong? This is my master. Xuanzang looked weird, but as everyone knows, Long Fei is even more weird. In his eyes, it is clear that Zihang and Miaoshan are one. But why Xuanzang behaved very indifferently, it seems that he only saw Miaoshan as a person. But at this moment, Miaoshan spoke. Amitabha, the Lord of the Dragon Court, need not worry. This is just what Xuanzang thinks. Naturally, he can only see one side. Miaoshan smiled with charity and fell with compassion. Then he nodded slightly to Xuanzang and said, "Between you and me, the division of apprenticeship between the master and the disciple has been exhausted. After this day, I am headed by the Lord of the Dragon Court and retired from the world." Miaoshan said, and Long Fei, at this time his expression dignified. "What is going on here? Who are you guys?" Long Fei said, "Inconceivably. On both sides of the body, this kind of thing reveals weirdness. Thank you very much for the Lord of the Dragon Court. If you were not the Lord of the Dragon Court before you suddenly realized when you were retreating, it resonated with me and other Taos. I am afraid that at this moment, Miaoshan and I have already died, and it is impossible will appear now. As for who Lord, it is no longer important." Chang explained, "Because of me, when I retreat, it resonated with Tao." Long Fei was surprised, but immediately before thinking of himself and before the development of the Dantian, he also realized his epiphany because of the argument of the two. He can be enlightened by the argument of the two, and they may naturally change for this reason. After all, his own Dantian has the evolution of the root of the avenue, and even the system girl feels an extraordinary presence. Yes, that's it. Also, at the moment of integration, Tao Chengxiandi saw some changes outside the heavens and the earth, and felt that there was a calamity in the world of mythology. Therefore, we are willing to honor the Lord of the Dragon Court in the future, until the calamity of the mythical world is over. Zihang said, "Amitabha, that's right." Miaoshan also said. Well, Long Fei was surprised, but anyway, now this result is considered a great success. After that, how should I call you? Long Fei asked. Now, with the two sides integrated, and regardless of the primary and secondary, Long Fei really doesn't know how to speak. Amitabha, the Lord of the Dragon Court. In fact, we are not just us. We listening to the voices of the beings, the way the spectators live, and the way of establishing the beings, have become the embodiment of the Tao. We have long been unconcerned. If we want, we can be thousands of hands. Zihang said again. What? Thousands of hands and thousands of faces. Long Fei was startled again. Among the myths he knows, thousands of hands and thousands of faces are the sound of watching the world, but never thought that Guanyin appeared in the world because of him. Okay, at least you have already taken that step. It is not inferior to the saints. In time, it is not impossible to override the saints. As for the title, I will call you Guanyin. Long Fei said, in his heart endless emotion, but did not show it. Guanyin, watch Guanyin people, listen to world sounds. Well, the Lord of the Dragon Court really is extraordinary. One word breaks the essence of our Tao. In this case, in the future, my method is guanyin. Miaoshan said, "This is a good word." Xi Heng echoed at the same time. Chapter 48:95. Chapter 48:95 time passed, and in a split second, half a month passed. In half a month, Long Fei closed her retreat for the second time and was directly immersed in the fusion of Dantian's power. But the extent of his physical endurance now has reached the limit, and even retreat is useless. However, not being able to integrate more and being unable to break through does not mean that Long Fei cannot improve his combat power. In half a month, Long Fei's incarnation particles floated in Dantian, Huanyu, realizing an alternative starry universe and feeling a lot in his heart. It still doesn't work. It seems that only after the fusion of the avatars and the physical body reaches the immortal body can we develop the power that has been developed in the Dantian and integrate as many as possible. At that time, maybe I can cultivate myself and jump into the sky, reach an unknown level. However, it is not without gains. Although the Tao of Sangxing is a kind of avenue, it can only be said that it is my Tao, but it is not my Tao. Inside the secret room, Long Fei opened his eyes and had an endless aftertaste. Long Fei feels better than something indescribable. When Dantian opened up, Long Fei had a bold guess in his mind, but this speculation was too horrible, so that Long Fei did not dare to think deeply. But this time the retreat gave Long Fei a new understanding. It is not that his speculation is too horrible, but that no one has done it ever since. But now, Long Fei may become the first person. Also, if my guess is true, there will be a big horror taking control of the unknown. Long Fei sank. However, these are a little far away. If true, they may be able to find an answer in the supreme plane in the future. Long Fei thought. With this in mind, Long Fei went straight out of the retreat. As soon as he walked to the main hall of Longting, Long Fei found something unusual. He looked up and saw the heavens, and the roar of luck was even more powerful than before. "Sir, you are out of customs." Tushan Xiaorong stepped forward. "Okay, you didn't retreat?" Long Fei froze. At first, he handed over the Qingzhou Atlas to Tushan Xiaoya in order to transform the entire fox family, waiting for the dragon Ting to fight again in the future. But unexpectedly, Tushan Xiaorong did not choose to retreat. "My lord was wrong. I didn't have a retreat, but I was the first to retreat with Xiaoya. But I am different from them. What they awaken is Jiu Wei, and what I awaken is Jujihuxin, so they will not be in retreat for a long time like them." Tushan Xiaorong said, "9 tricks." Long Fei froze. Tushan Xiaorong was originally an extraordinary commander, known as a 1,000-faced monster. Now, if you open the heart of Jiuqiao, is it okay? In fact, it's nothing. It's just that the deduction ability and estimation ability have improved a little. Tushan Xiaorong said, but between the words, he carried a light weight, as if everything was under his control. Deduced, between instincts, Long Fei thought of the system girl. Unfortunately, the system girl is now dissipating in the system. Otherwise, you can let the system girl look at what mysterious Tushan Xiaorong is. "Sir, I am afraid that something big will happen between heaven and earth recently. During this half-month period, Tianting and Lingshan have joined hands, but they haven't made any movement. They just remain silent." At this moment, Tushan Xiaorong said suddenly, "I have already guessed, otherwise the fortune of heaven will not become so strong. But do you think that joining forces can stop me? Too naive." Long Fei sneered. He didn't do anything. It was just letting the other party linger and die. And when his heritage was condensed, it would be when they collapsed, and Long Ting replaced it completing the mythical world and the main task himself. That is, of course, before the owner retreats. It is not difficult to do this. Now, the master is out of the house. Without them, it is a breeze. Tushan Xiaorong said with a smile, but Long Fei's expression became a little fun. What can you see? Long Fei asked. Yes, I have seen the Lord of Heaven and Earth this time when I go out of the customs. I can feel that the rules of the entire world have changed slightly with the exit of the adult. The existence of adults has made Tian Dao bow his head. Tushan Xiaorong said. Long Fei's eyes moved slightly. Tushan Xiaorong said it right. This is the biggest gain of this retreat. This was felt the moment he left the customs. The power of heaven is no more threat to him. Even it has been inverted. Right now, Dan Tian's strength is shocked. He can crush the heavens and let the heavens bow his head. However, he was more curious about how Tushan Xiaorong saw it. How did you see it? Long Fei said, lightly. My grown-up laughed. I was just simulating the power of heaven, so it was nothing extraordinary to speculate. It's a grown-up who can make Tian Dao awesome to grown-ups, which is really powerful. Tushan Xiaorong said, and he didn't know that his words just shocked Long Fei. Simulating heavenly power? Calculate the running trajectory? Would you be so bad? Long Fei was startled. Although this kind of power has no transcendent combat power, to a certain extent, it is more terrifying than a high-end combat power. One person is worth 1,000,000 divisions. For a moment, Long Fei came to his senses, knowing that Tushan Xiaorong should definitely pay attention to it. Then can you figure out that there is a unique race outside of heaven and earth? Long Fei asked. What he said was the Pangu family. I saw Tushan Xiaorong shook his head slightly and said, My lord, my Jiu heart has just awakened, so I can capture these extremes. If you want to calculate the power outside the heaven, you need Jiu eyes, open 9 ears, and then it is possible to perceive the existence of what the adults said. However, I am afraid that these things will never be encountered in this life. Tushan Xiaorong said, showing a look of guilt. 9 trick eyes, 9 eyes and 9 ears. Long Fei's heart moved, keeping in mind. Rest assured, leave those things to me. All you have to do is to deduct the actual situation of heavenly Taoism. I want to know where heavenly Taoist ancestors and heavenly saints are. Long Fei said. Now out of the gate, Long Fei naturally considers conquering the Tiangong to complete the main task. However, there are 2 kinds of heavenly saints, and Tao Su Hong Jun, but they cannot help but guard. Leave it to Xiaorong. By the way, I feel that there is a very special life form that is entering the world of myth in an incredible way. Tushan Xiaorong said. A special life form? What do you mean? Tushan Xiaorong asked. I don't know the specifics, but I smelled like the master on the living body, and it seems to be related to the master. Tushan Xiaorong said. Chapter 4896. Chapter 4896, remember, in 1 second, 69 wonderful non-pop-up window to read for free. Long Fei was even more confused. Like me, a suspicion appeared in Long Fei's eyes, and he quickly cast the eyes of eternal life and looked above the void. But at this glance, you can't see anything. The only thing you can see is nothing but a void of Hoshino and a long way to go. The rest of it was nothing, and it was completely imperceptible. Sir, maybe it may be that I'm wrong. Don't worry too much. Tushan Xiaorong said, but Long Fei shook his head slightly. Tushan Xiaorong can capture the trajectory of Tian Dao, and she is not the kind of person who opens her mouth. If there is no basis, she will never tell herself. Should not, you can capture the power of heaven. Naturally, you are extremely deep into this world. If you don't know it well, You should not lose to the holy. Long Fei said, thinking about the system and wanting to know something happening. System, is it another system owner who wants to enter the earth? Long Fei asked tentatively. This is his perception. When Tu Shan Xiaorong uttered that sentence, Long Fei's first feeling was Long Batian. Otherwise, how can it be said that an existence similar to your own breath has to enter here? Ding! The system has not detected that other system owners have entered this world, but it has been detected that 100,000 light years away, the existence of a blood vessel carrying the player is dying and falling into this place. A system sound appears, and Long Fei's expression instantly became extremely embarrassing. What? Carry my bloodline? Breath? Long Fei was startled, and the killing in his heart suddenly broke out. Carrying his bloodline, Long Fei was locked on his son at once. My son, is it invincible or the answer? Is something wrong in Dayang? Zun Yi, if there is an accident in my son, I want you to be buried in the sky and be a slave forever. Long Fei's heart was burning with anger, and the whole person was almost in a state of insanity. The momentum on his body was violent at this instant. Eyes were instantly filled with anger, and endless anger burned, letting Long Fei's heart only want to destroy this side of the world, then complete the task and leave directly. Ding! Congratulations to the player for triggering the system task and gathering the mythical world of war. Mission time, half a month. Mission objective: Neza, Yangzhe, and Sun Wukong to enlighten their own way for the three of them to seal the dragon god of war. Mission rewards: 10,000 activation rolls, millions of Legion coins. Mission punishment: revocation of the Legion system. Long Fei had no reaction at all. If something really happened to his son and nothing was done, he just wanted to leave here as soon as possible to save his son. Suddenly, at this moment, Tu Shan Xiaorong exclaimed, "Sir, the breath has reappeared, and it has entered the world of mythology, and even the power of heaven is directly isolated." Tu Shan Xiaorong said, "Shen," looking at Long Fei, who was already in a state of rage. Her heart was equally frightened. At this time, Long Fei didn't need to shoot at all. She already felt a kind of suffocation. What there is? Long Fei's consciousness returned to a sense of sobriety, and he quickly sought to use the eyes of eternal life. However, at this moment, he was blocked by an unknown force, shielding his perception. Damn, why is this? Even my power can stop it. Xiao Rong, where did he fall? Long Fei asked. At this moment, Long Fei was extremely anxious. But no matter what, you must find someone first, and only then can you proceed to the next step. Sir, I figured it out. The direction of this person's fall should be where Guanjianku is. Tu Shan Xiaorong said, Guanjianku? Okay. Long Fei finished, his figure flickered, and he flew away into the void. Call. After the disappearance of Long Fei's figure, Tu Shan Xiaorong kept panting, and the whole person had a feeling of the rest of his life. It seems that existence is extremely important for adults. Otherwise, it will definitely not show this emotion. But no matter what, this mythical world will not be stable for a long time. Tu Shan Xiaorong whispered to himself, and then returned within the dragon court. At this time, Guanjianku, Yen is practicing in the mountains. At the beginning, he and Tu Shan Xiaohong had already wounded their origins in the first battle. Later, Long Fei's powerful shots and devastation caused his divine power to be damaged. Then he saw Long Fei alone overturning the heavens, and his heart was even more shocked. Even to this day, not all have recovered. Rumble. But at this moment, a roar came. Yang Yen also opened his eyes violently, watching a fire shadow falling in front of himself, his eyes moving slightly. Who is it? Yang Yen yelled. But At the moment, there was no response. Shouty on dog. Yang Yin yelled. Huh. At this moment, Shouty on dog jumped out and came to the side of the group of Naruto. Master, this is a person alive. Shouty on dog said. Alive. Yang Yan's expression changed slightly. He had divine eyes and could naturally perceive how severely injured the person who had fallen suddenly was. It can basically be said that he would definitely die. Bring it back first. Yang Yan commanded. Immediately, 2 grass gods appeared, ready to take the fallen person away. But before they approached, the expressions on their faces instantly exploded. Huh! The 2 figures flew directly backwards, and even the divine power could be deprived and swallowed up. What? Yang Yan was furious and shocked. A person who has been seriously injured and dying can even swallow the divine power directly. What's even more difficult for him to understand is that after devouring divine power, the figure has recovered a little breath and has begun to tremble faintly. Well, I'm going to see who you are. The light of God's eyes shines on the sky. Yang Yan urged the God's eyes and used the power of the gods he had just recovered to shine directly on the man. But the next moment, Yang was forced, because the light of this God's eyes was directly swallowed by the other party, even if he wanted to take it back. It was impossible. Yang Yan was furious. The light of this God's eyes. But how hard it is to cultivate. I wanted to see the origin of the other party, but I didn't expect to be plundered by the other party directly. Finally, when the original power in the Yang Yang's eyes was completely swallowed up, this force of swallowing disappeared, and the eyes of Yang Yan also became dim, and the whole person fell to the ground as if he had collapsed. The falling man stood up slowly at this moment. Ha ha ha, I'm not dead. Little master, I'm not dead. A group of dog stuff, right? The 3rd shrine. Wait for my little master to recover. Find my dad. And just go over your temple. The owner of the figure laughed loudly, and then looked at Yang Yi in front of him. Did you save me? The strength is pretty good. Rest assured, when the little master, I find my dad, let my dad give you evil and help you come back, said the figure. Chapter 4898. Chapter 4898, remember, in 1 second, 69, wonderful non-pop-up window to read for free. Among the dragon courts, the 3 emperors and Jinyuan Zi have returned. For half a month, almost a month has passed since they left and returned. Well, I didn't expect this task to be so difficult. I thought it would be easy to handle, but never thought that the monkey was so powerful. Fu Shi Huang said with a little regret on his face. It seems that the formation of Fuxi Emperor was not smooth. In fact, we are the same. In the land government, it is no longer comparable. I do know what the land government is. All feeling intolerable. Fortunately, I met the soldiers of Daqin midway, saying that now in Jizo he has not yet stepped out of hell, so I returned, said the Emperor Shenong. Immediately afterwards, everyone looked at Xianyuan Huang. I saw Xianyuan Huang grinning bitterly and said, "Don't look, my trip was not smooth. You are okay. At least you can see the Lord. But I can't even find the figure of Jiang Luer." Xianyuan Huang also looked bitter. This time, they vowed to assure Long Fei that they would even stop Long Fei from destroying Lingshan. Now, the results have been disappointed, and there has been no progress at all. At this moment, Tushan Xiaorong walked out slowly in front of several people. Several seniors have returned. It seems that it is not going well. Tushan Xiaorong said with a smile. Originally, in accordance with her practice, she had no courage to speak to a few people. But now, she opened up Jikioxin. It's different. The moment she returned, she had figured out what had happened to them. This ability is called terror. You are the second head of the Tushan clan. I know you. Fushi Huang said, not condescending. Needless to say, just because the Tushan clan are Longting people, they will not put up their own shelves. Seniors are serious, but seniors don't have to take things too seriously, because they won't be long before they will appear in Longting. Although I don't know what it is, it should be related to adults. Tushan Xiaorong said Road, and what they said in her mouth was, of course, monkeys and Jianglure. Huh, where do you know? Xianyuan wondered. Originally, they were distressed that they could not fail Jackie Fei's entrustment. Now, when they hear the words of Tushan Xiaorong, they are all moved. This is related to the talents of the Xiaorong Linghu family, which cannot be explained in detail. However, several seniors died without worrying about it. I have calculated that in the near future, they will all gather in the Dragon Court. Tushan Xiaorong said, extremely determined. This is also the first time she has demonstrated her ability in front of everyone. Hearing that, Fu Shi and others had a look of surprise on their faces and looked at Tushan Xiaorong with an incredible look, especially Fu Shi, who painted innate gossip, could not deduce what was predicted. At this moment, Tushan Xiaorong dare to be so determined, which is the place where he is most puzzled, and naturally he couldn't know. The Qingqiu Atlas, by the hand of Long Fei, has become the product of the system. Naturally, it has fundamentally departed from this side of heaven. Fushi's gossip, however, is the power of the mythical world, and naturally cannot be deduced to those who are no less inferior to her existence. Therefore, the mulberry elm harvested by the east is the truth. Tushan Xiaorong gave up Jiuwei's combat power and got Jiuqiao's magical power, which will naturally be extraordinary. Where is that dragon flying now? Fu Shi asked again. Adult has now gone to Guanjianku. If I make a good prediction, the details of my dragon court will be gathered soon. At that time, the real war will start. Tushan Xiaorong said, but she did not say much about Long Fei's power about that group. Because she knew that Long Fei hadn't told a few people, she couldn't say more. Because Long Fei is the master of Longting, and she is Longting's person, this is enough. Guanjianku. Thank you, Lord. Regardless of your previous suspicions, Yang Sun is willing to surrender to the Lord as a soldier of the Dragon Court, fighting in the heavenly mountain Lingshan. For one, he knew clearly that in front of Long Fei, any resistance was unnecessary. The second is to get up and down the Guanjiang estuary. Okay, since you have already surrendered, follow me into the Dragon Court. Your current combat strength is too weak. You can't afford the name of the mythical god of war. But as for your team, stay here and practice with peace of mind. Long Fei said his mission was only Yang Yi, and he was able to abandon hatred and bring Yang Yi into his hands, partly because of Neza and partly because of system tasks. As for these grass-head gods, weak and terrible, they will only be cannon fodder in the future. Yes, Yang Yin nodded and said without any hesitation, although degraded by Long Fei, he knows that Long Fei has this qualification. Not to mention the current Long Fei, even the original Long Fei, he was not a united place. After breaking through now, just watching Long Fei, he already had a humble instinct in his heart. Moreover, he was even clearer. The combat power of these men is extremely limited. If it weren't for myself, I would die in Longting in the future, rather than let them practice well in Guanjianku. At this time, Long Fei nodded slightly, looking at Ware. Come on, go back to Longting with me, Dad. I will heal you. Long Fei said, his heart moved slightly. Nezo appeared. The thought that was silent in his heart now naturally can be implemented. Long ago, when Neza of the mythological world appeared, Long Fei had thought about erasing the opponent, and then found the opportunity to summon this Neza in front of him. Unexpectedly, now, inadvertently inserting willows, Neza came out by himself. It just replaced Neza in this mythological world and became the protagonist of his mission. As for whether the mission is allowed, Long Fei will not consider it. Anyway, the system just says who is who, and does it specify which one? The next moment, Long Fei took the lead, pulling up Neza and disappearing into the void. Yang, without hesitation, braced his body and flew towards Long Ting. After a while, Long Fei brought Neza to the Dragon Court. Watching the three emperors who had returned, Long Fei smiled gently. Several seniors have returned. I don't know what happened. Long Fei asked. It's a shame to say that you have been entrusted with it. Jiang Luer walked around and became hundreds of millions of beings. I never found anyone else. Xian Yuan took the lead in speaking, somewhat embarrassed. Long Fei nodded and looked at Shen Nong. Well, you should know the situation of the land government. Now, the land government, the 7 males are fighting for hegemony. The whole land government has been turbulent, and there is a purgatory. And Jizo has not yet come out of the hell, and the emperor has never found its figure. Say road. Long Fei didn't say anything, didn't make any statement, but looked at Fu Shi. Similarly, ICA ain't move that monkey. His word has been established, and his combat power is extraordinary. He is a pure fighting body, even more powerful than my gossip. Fushi said faintly. Chapter 48:99. Chapter 48:99. Remember, in 1 second, 69, wonderful non-pop-up window to read for free. Long Fei froze, seeming to be a bit surprised. Monkeys are so strong. Long Fei was unbelievable. After all, Fushi's combat power is already comparable to Saint's. It is said now that the monkey has already had the strength to compete with him. Does this not mean that the monkey has also reached that step? Suddenly, Long Fei's thoughts fluttered, and in his mind, the picture of the original god was being bombarded by the golden hoop, and the monkey swept across the enemy. It seems necessary to go for a trip in person. Long Fei moved heartily and made a decision. Anyway, monkeys are not the same as Neza and Yangju. At the beginning, what he called out was an illusory force which had nothing to do with them in this world. But monkeys are different. Long Fei believes that monkeys in this world have an inevitable connection with monkeys they once called. But there is one point in Long Fei's heart that is extremely confused, that is, if there is any connection between the two, why the monkey has never come to the door. Even Fu Shi went in person and refused to come. But no matter what, the monkey task now appears in his system tasks, so naturally he can't ignore it. With this in mind, Long Fei smiled softly. Several seniors don't blame themselves. Since they can't find them, it proves that the time has not yet come. Now, several seniors are just right. Above the earth, in the human world, there are mine people bothering a few seniors to go to the world, to clear the world. Then I will the good Tiandi candidate brings this side of the world. Long Fei said rightly, yes, it is Tiandi. As for this person, it is not someone else. It is Li Yu. Adhering to the heart of the child, Li Yu is honest and kind, and he has the inheritance power of Emperor Fang Tian, who is the only person who will carry the power of Fang Tian and Earth after he leaves. A candidate for Heaven Emperor, Long Fei, Long Ting, will replace Tian Ting in the future. Will you not rise and fall? Xian Yuan and others asked, suddenly. Seniors, you also know that I am not a person of this world. My purpose here is to destroy the heavens. You can take this as my experience. After finishing, I will naturally leave. But you can rest assured, I will find this people. I definitely pack your satisfaction. Long Fei said in a deep voice. The three of them heard different expressions on their faces, but there is no doubt that it is full of pity. At the same time, there was shock. Because of Long Fei's words, they really scared them. Destroy heaven and Lingshan, just experience? It is so much better than that we can train this flying dragon to complete such a terrible experience. When thinking of this, several people looked at Long Fei, full of awe. Even if Long Fei called them seniors at this moment, they also Dachshund gave birth to something strange. Seeing the expressions of several people, Long Fei smiled slightly and didn't say much. It can be said that the reactions of several people were within Long Fei's expectations. But this sentence is not what Long Fei said in order to pretend. Rather, this is his task. Well, I didn't expect you to have done so much without knowing it. Also, since you are already looking for it, just let me take a look. What kind of talents you can make sure you are satisfied. At this moment, Xian Yuan beat. He broke his silence and said, "Several seniors, at a glance." Long Fei laughed softly, then looked at Neza and Yang Ju. "In the past few days, you have been reunited in this dragon court. What you need is to tell Xiao Rong directly. Even if you are practicing, you can also ask Xiao Rong for inquiry." Long Fei said, Yang Fei's fighting strength with Nesh can be clearly seen at a glance. Neza's combat power is far above Yang Ju, but he has been seriously injured now, so he can't say what the specific combat strength is. Yang Yen is already the peak of Deluo, but he never stood up. But this is not a problem. Since coming to Longting, as long as Long Fei finds the monkeys, he will perform system tasks at that time. And with the help of Tushan Xiaorong, let him find his own way, stand up to the world, and become a generation of God of War. Easy. Good dad, are you going out? Neza asked. He didn't dare not listen to Long Fei's words, but still wanted to follow Long Fei out. "I'll go for a while to the old deceased. Now you are injured, and rest in peace in the Dragon Court. There is luck in Xianmen to help you recover faster. When I come back, I will give you a great gift," Long Fei said lightly. After speaking, Long Fei directly instructed Tushan Xiaorong to let Tushan Xiaorong arrange for them. At this time, the three emperors and Jinyuan also planned to leave. Because of things like Jiang Luer and others, they didn't want to stay in Longting too much. They just wanted to complete Long Fei's commission as soon as possible. After explaining to Long Fei, let Chen Yuanzi go through the Book of the Earth, looking for find a way into the human world. Long Fei did not leave in a hurry. Instead, they looked at the dragons in the process of transformation. Of course, this is in another space. Xiao has reached such a level of Long Fei that he wants to open up a space for himself. The transformation of the dragon is one of his whole cards. It is naturally impossible to present such a grandeur in front of everyone. Even if Zihang could see it at the beginning, it was Long Fei's intention. Now, every dragon clan has almost 10,000 feet, and the last one is 8,000 feet, and the combat power is already above Deluo. Although the distance from the stand is still worse, the strength of the body is enough even in the face of that group. The dragon is the meat shield. Cold light burst into Long Fei's eyes. He had made a lot of preparations for that battle. Although it can't be said that it has been restless, it has already had a battle, coupled with the 1 million Qin soldiers who won when the time of World War I. No one knows who will die. Of course, the most important thing is to improve your own combat power. Therefore, the main goal of Long Fei now can only be placed on system tasks. At that time, some things can be exchanged in the Legion system to improve the overall combat capability of the Legion under its control. Of course, it is also very important that Long Fei's research on the power of Dantian also has a new direction. The next step is to confirm this direction. Thinking of this, after a short while, Long Fei did not stop. Now the evolution of the dragon race is coming to an end. I am afraid that it will not be long before it can be completed. He didn't need to wait any longer. The next moment, Long Fei's figure flickered, and the dry land pulled up the onions, soaring out of the sky. The goal this time is nothing else but Waguishan. What Long Fei doesn't know is that at this moment in heaven, the figure of Rulai sat opposite the Jade Emperor. If you come, since it is cooperation, you have to show your sincerity. Now, the heaven is all under my control, and my combat power can also compete with the saints. Where is your Lingshan? Yu Huang said with a majestic face, and said, Jade Emperor, my Lingshan is not unavailable. As long as this seat finds a person, then that person will definitely be able to get out of the mountain. Rulai narrowed his eyes and said, lightly, Chapter 4900, Chapter 4900 Dongxing Shenzhou, the coast of the East China Sea. On top of a mountain, the mountains and rivers are intertwined, and the spiritual force is vertical and horizontal. It's such a good place. No wonder it's a land of flowers and fruits. Long Fei's eyes brightened, looking at the Huagua Mountain in front of him, and he whispered to himself, this is not his first visit to Waguishan. However, when I first came to the East China Sea, it was only for the dragons, and I didn't think about it. Now I come to Huagua Mountain, which also brings an unusual shock to Long Fei. And just after descending on the Huagua Mountain, Long Fei could feel a tyrannical way of thinking. Even Long Fei has already felt that such a powerful group of ideas even made Long Fei Dantian active, as if I can't wait to get in touch with this kind of Taoism. Needless to say, this kind of Tao thought must belong to the monkey. I don't know what the monkey is doing now. It is so arrogant. Long Fei thought. His eyes were full of expectations. Also at this time, the advent of Long Fei naturally made the monkey feel. Inside the water curtain hole, the monkey suddenly opened his eyes. Baby, you take care of the family first. I'll see an old person. The gold eyes of the monkey flickered with gold, and the fire eyes had high warfare. The next moment, the monkey figure turned into a golden light and flew out, above the void. Long Fei also felt something. As soon as his eyes turned, he saw the golden light transformed by the monkey approaching him. And at this moment, Long Fei's eyes were shocked. It's him. The figure of the monkey is exactly the same as the summoned before Long Fei. Instantly, Long Fei had a mindful mind in mind. This figure and his memory are generally the same, so it is absolutely certain that there must be any connection between the two. Even if you take a step back and say that there is no relationship between the two, the system is calling according to the monkeys in this world. The thought of this, Long Fei's heart was also moved. Lord of the Dragon Court, Long Fei. At this time, the monkey's figure also came down, looking at the dragon in front of him. His eyes were golden. Monkey, have we met? Long Fei opened the door to see the mountain and asked without asking a corner. In my memory, there was a dragon flying, but it is different from your features, said the monkey. With this remark, Long Fei's eyes suddenly shrank. There is no doubt that everything has become qualitative. What I called at first was a monkey. As for the facial features, Long Fei didn't know how many times he changed his body. The facial features are naturally different. That's me. In that case, it is really an old man. Since it is an old man, then everything is easy to say. Come with me. This mythical world will encounter a calamity. You can't carry it by yourself. Follow me at Long Ting to have hope. Long Fei said in a deep voice. What? Can't carry it? There is no such thing as a grandson's retreat. When the monkey blew its hair, Long Fei said that there was anger in his eyes. Long Fei did not explain, but just chuckled, "You have rampant capital, and your nature should be the same. Fortunately, you haven't let me down. If you really have become a Buddha and abandoned your demon, even if I want to help you, it is impossible." Long Fei said. For the monkey, Long Fei still has deep feelings. Not to mention that this is a typical example of myths in my childhood memories, but even when I was weak, I gradually rose up by the monkey to be more serious. If there were no monkeys in the past, there might not be the current self. Therefore, in Long Fei's heart, he naturally leaned more towards the monkeys he had summoned. Boy, we can't help but think of grandson. I know your means are extraordinary, but without your grandson, you can't get here today. Moreover, you just have to stand up and dare to say to help grandson. The monkey scratched his ears and scratched his cheek, apparently being agitated by Long Fei for a few words. Although I just established the way, we have different ways. I know that you are very powerful now, and you do and even know how much stronger than you were. If when you summoned it, you have the current combat power, fearing that the world will be penetrated by you. Long Fei said lightly, "The breath on the monkey is indeed terrifying." As Fushi said, his gossip couldn't hold the monkey at all. That is, my grandson was only to Luo Jingxian at that time, and what you called, but only passed on my strength in case, it is not worth mentioning. As soon as the monkey heard Long Fei's words, his face immediately opened his eyes and laughed, pushing away. But that was just once. Your word is strong, but it is not enough to see before me. But at this moment, Long Fei said again, "Oh my God, I'm so annoyed. Grandson, you say grandson is worse than you?" The monkey flame gold sprite flashed again. The battle was overwhelming, and a word of being flying by the dragon aroused the demon in the heart. But Long Fei smiled gently. "Don't rush before we start. We might as well make a bet. If you win, continue to be your holy god. If you lose, then follow me and become my supreme god of war." Long Fei said, "Okay, old son is afraid you won't succeed. Your life is protected by my grandson. I'm afraid to fight with you." The monkey laughed loudly. "Then go to World War I. This world can no longer tolerate your power." "Exactly. Let me see what your Tao is." Long Fei said, his eyes flickered. The monkey's way is absolutely unusual. It was also the first time after he opened up Dantian that he had an extreme desire for the Tao of others. So, regardless of the monkey's decision, he will fight the monkey today. Of course, there was no life or death between him and the monkeys, and World War I was just to prove it. And the monkey, no matter how many at this time, flashed into the void directly. Naturally, Long Fei didn't hesitate, followed closely, and with both hands pried away from the void, and entered the outer world. Long Fei, watch out. Old Sun's strength is not something ordinary people can handle. The iron rod shook hands in the monkey's hand, and a violent force burst out on him. As soon as Long Fei's eyes brightened, the blade of the King of Kings appeared in his hands. The stronger the monkey's breath, the more satisfied Long Fei felt. Only such a monkey is what he looks forward to in the middle of his heart. In the next moment, the monkey fell to the ground without saying a word. Kowloon Royal! Long Fei didn't dare to neglect either. Boom! The giant stick fell from the void, and it collapsed and collapsed into the void, sweeping the sky and the earth. But Long Fei's blade of the king is also not simple. 9 dragons appear, and Fei Fei's figure also appears above the central dragon's head, facing the void. Chapter 49:01. Chapter 49:01. The mighty void is frightened. After the sword, Long Fei's sword and the monkey's stick collided directly in the void. Rumble. Suddenly, this side of the world was directly collapsed by the power of the two. Fortunately, this is a place outside the sky. Otherwise, the whole world of myth will be a ruin affected by the power of the two and no longer exist. The next moment, Long Fei and Monkey looked at each other and then shot tacitly at the same time, re-entering a place out of the sky, knife light, and stick shadow, once again fighting together. However, in this battle, they have forgotten themselves and did not even care about time, just to be hardy. Similarly, they do not know that a group of uninvited guests has arrived on the Huagua Mountain today. Not others, but people in heaven and Lingshan. If Long Fei is here, he will be amazed, because now the people in Tianting and Lingshan have only one purpose to come to Huagua Mountain, and that is to invite the monkeys out of the mountain. On the Huagua Mountain, Tai Bai and a bodhisattva in the Lingshan mountain lined up together. Behind them were countless Tianjiang and Buddha cultivation. Where is the fight over the Buddha? The bodhisattva in Lingshan took the lead in opening his mouth with a slight smile on his face. However, the monkeys in Huaguashan are human. In addition, following the monkeys for so long, they have been aware of human nature for a long time, and only one glance saw through the smile of this bodhisattva full of hypocrisy. The king of my family said that the Buddha is a good Buddha, but walking is hypocritical. Sure enough, you all look good. The happier you laugh, the more ghosts you prove. The monkey on Huagua Mountain said, "What? The expression of the Buddha of Lingshan is awkward. He couldn't possibly imagine that Sun Wukong would talk to the monkeys in Lingshan. The king of your family is telling you a joke, but how could we be a Buddha in Lingshan to hide mischief? Little monkey, where is your king now?" The spirit of the Buddha in Lingshan was depressing, and at the same time he secretly hated it. If it wasn't for the monkey, I'd be afraid to turn around and leave. At this time, the smile on Tai Bai's face flashed, and he took a step forward. Yes, your king is boundless. We are looking for your king, to invite your king out of the mountain to save the world. Tai Bai stood up and rounded the field. However, the monkeys in Lingshan are no stranger to him. Get off. Think we don't know what happened then? Isn't it because of you that you deceived our king to go to Tiangong, and were deceived to go west? Now dare to come to our Huaguashan. Believe it or not, we will call you out. A word of sound fell, and the emotions on the Huagua Mountain were excited. One monkey after another jumped out, opened their teeth, and danced their claws, facing the Buddha of Tai Bai and Lingshan, showing their own teeth. Good student is wanton. How dare you be rude to us? When your king sees us, he must be polite. A group of demon monkeys. It should be that you were almost not destroyed. The Buddha of Lingshan had a sudden change of voice. His face was somber and said coldly. And this sentence also completely ignited the anger in the hearts of Huaguashan monkeys. Bald donkey, dare to say? When you massacred us in Huagua Mountain, what did you say now to save the world? Kill them, bald donkey. If the king is not looking for himself, do you really think that our king has forgotten the enemies of Huaguashan? Just right now, when they come to your door, no one has to go. Monkeys filled with indignation. They are not without practice. On the contrary, their cultivation is not weak. Even the strongest has already had Deluo's cultivation. It can be seen that after finding their way, the monkeys did not leave the Huaguashan alone, but also took them on the path of cultivation. Do it. A group of demon monkeys dare to wanton? If the monkey head is here, maybe this seat will still be jealous, but it's up to you. The expression of Lingshan Bodhisattva was sudden and murderous surged. At this time, even the expression on Tai Bai's face changed. I did not expect such a result today. If it was before, he would have expected Lingshan to attack the monkey. But now, the monkey's combat ability is already difficult to test. Although it has never been shot, it must have been extremely scary. At this time, if they can pull the monkey to the side of heaven, it will also have a sense of security for them. But now, double-edged, asshole, a stupid donkey, not afraid of a godlike opponent, but a pig-like teammate. This is to attract the monkeys, not to force the monkeys to fight with us. Tai-bai was angry, but he didn't dare to say such words. Not to mention that the monkeys in Huagua Mountain are not weak in cultivation, and the other person is a bodhisattva in Lingshan. This is enough to show that they are cultivation. Dear everyone, listen to old words. Don't be impulsive. Tai-bai Venus took another step forward and said, "Let's be a camp now. We can't hurt peace. You see, your king is a Buddha of Lingshan. That is to say, you are also Lingshan people. How can you and your own soldiers use the sword?" Tai-bai jinxing persuaded. But as soon as his voice fell, the monkeys in Huagua Mountain hit them with a stick. Still Pidar, Huagua Mountain, go to hell. The monkey in Huaguashan screamed, angrily disapproving it at all, and just served with a stick. When a stick falls, even if it is too white, it is also smashed. Suddenly, anger appeared on Tai-bai's face. The stubborn spirit, the monkey's head is not there. How dare you, a group of demon monkeys? Since you doen't give face to Ben Xingjuan, so doen't blame Ben Xingjuan regardless of your life. Originally, I wanted to persuade you, so use the security of your Huagua Mountain to help the evil monkeys. Tai-bai Venus was also smashed into the real fire by this stick, said angrily, and then looked at the Lingshan Bodhisattva and said, "Bodhisattva, you can do it yourself. However, doen't kill the monks in Lingshan. We are so demon-headed." Venus said ruthlessly, and the Buddha of Lingshan disappeared at this time. A group of demon evil, death is not a pity. However, what you said makes sense. After all, the monkey's combat power is still not weak, and we can never provoke disasters for Tianting and Lingshan. A group of demon monkeys. Look at me. Lingshan Bodhisattva's voice was cold. Between the words, the Buddha's light flickered, and then he suppressed it directly. Suddenly, there was a mourning above Huagua Mountain. After all, even if they have cultivated themselves, they are still demons after all, and they are not worth mentioning in the presence of Lingshan Bodhisattva. In a blink of an eye, the whole Huagua Mountain turned into a sore. The battle raged. At this time, in a place outside of the sky, Long Fei and the monkey were sitting side by side, and in front of them there was a variety of delicious food and wine created by magical magic. Court death. Suddenly, the monkey's complexion changed, and from the previous smoothness, he became angry. What happened? Long Fei's mood also changed, and he asked, but as if the monkey didn't hear half of it, the whole person got up instantly. Tianting Lingshan, old grandson wants you to die. The next moment, the monkey turned into a streamer and flew out. Chapter 49:02. Chapter 49:02 on the Huagua Mountain. The smoke was rising, and the war continued. A Lingshan Bodhisattva, dealing with a group of demon monkeys under Daluo, grabbed his hand, almost a rolling sweep. So just a few breaths, there were countless deaths and injuries on the whole Huagua Mountain. However, under the control of this person, the number of deaths and injuries was controlled at about half. But the rest is generally not the same. Basically, they are either bound or annihilated. Aside, Venus looked at the situation at the moment, and there was a coldness in his mouth. If Long Fei is here, he will be shocked. Who was shocked by the courage in heaven to dare to slaughter Huaguashan. So, Nikko Bodhisattva, it's almost okay, just a group of demon monkeys. Keep going. I'm afraid what the monkey will feel. If the monkey comes back at this time, we will be finished. Tai-bai said. The Lingshan Sunlight Bodhisattva also nodded slightly at this time. Xingjuan is right, the demon monkey is crazy, but it is not without shortcomings. Now, we have caught these monkeys, and I believe he will definitely submit. With that said, the Bodhisattva, Nico, directly put away the magical power. The bald donkey, and the old man in heaven, you wait, when my king returns, you can't run any of them. There will be no good results for the heavenly courts and Lingshan. The little monkey in Waguishan struggled, growled, and growled. They are no longer in the past, especially after their practice. They are more familiar with the conspiracy of Tianting and Lingshan, and remember the sufferings that Tianting and Lingshan put on the monkeys. So at this moment, it is impossible to submit. Death threats they still cursed. Nico and Taibai's faces became extremely embarrassing. They did not expect that these monster monkeys are still so arrogant. Sure enough, behave with the demon monkey and be taunted. But don't worry, after the monkey saves the heavens and earth, your karma will be shot by my spirit mountain to surpass you. At that time, I will take the shot myself and send you into reincarnation. Nico said, his voice indifferent. Rumble. But at this moment, there was a roar above the void. Immediately afterwards, a stick figure descended from the sky. Send my children into reincarnation? Old Sun will show you around first. It was a monkey. At this time, the monkey finally returned. Returning violently is extremely violent, directly sweeping with sticks. Brush. Rumble. There is nothing to resist. I dare not be the of heaven, or the Buddha's cultivation in Lingshan. At the moment, under the monkey's stick, there is no strength to escape, and he is directly hit by a stick. Alas! The next moment, the body was directly blasted by the monkey, turned into a piece of blood, and fell down. Dead to grandson. The monkey growled again. Outrageous. At this moment, the monkey is directly transformed into a demon body. No, the fight over the Buddha. But you, the Buddha, how can you kill innocent people? How can you kill the people in heaven and Lingshan? Hurry up and stop. Nico panicked. Yes, Desheng, all this is a misunderstanding. The little old man will definitely be like the local government in person and implore the Jade Emperor to revive them. Taibai also said, the attitude of the two was directly a 180-degree change. The emergence of the monkeys directly destroyed all the illusions in their hearts, and even died. Even they did not expect that the monkeys would come back so fast. Otherwise, even if they lend them true courage, they would not dare to act on the Huagua Mountain. Misunderstanding. Buddha, at this time, do you dare to play with grandsons? 3,000 years ago, you coaxed the old sun into the sky and finally united Lingshan and threatened Huagua Mountain, forcing the old sun to lock his magical powers and be suppressed under the Five Elements Mountain. Now, I still want to repeat the tricks and use my Waguishan to threaten my grandchildren and work for you. Dead. The monkey was unmoved. No Buddha, no God, but all the hatred in his heart could not be reached. Whatever God is, what about Buddha? He has no fear. At this time, above the void, along with the monkeys, there were dragons flying. A fierce comparison. The monkey's way was truly extraordinary. It seems that Buddhahood did not suppress him in any way, and his demonism is still there. Long Fei was very satisfied when he saw such a monkey. Between Mu Ran, a word flashed through Long Fei's mind. It is a famous one in the past life. I want this day I can no longer cover my eyes. This place will never stop my heart. To all the gods and gods, all disappeared. The hero of this sentence is exactly the monkey. It is most suitable to describe this moment. Especially at this moment, Long Fei watched the monkeys open and close together and swept away, which means that the gods and gods of the heavens fell, and his heart was inexplicably stirred up. This method is more violent than when he overthrew the heavenly palace. But of course, he is not the same as he was now. If he is going to set foot over the skies, now, one stroke is enough. At this moment, Tai-Bai and Nico were scared, and the two men kept shrinking. Damn, it's over, it's over. Why did the monkeys suddenly come back? Too pale to speak. This is the end of the matter. There is nothing better to do, only a fight. In the eyes of Nico, there was also horror and fear. Watching a respected and Buddha fall in front of his eyes, an unprecedented shame sprang up in his heart. However, there is no way they cannot deal with the monkeys now. Don't say that they, even their Buddha, may be helpless. Spell? What spell? We can't stop it at all. The whole heaven and Lingshan can't stop it. Unless Yu Huang takes the shot himself, it is possible to suppress the monkey. Tai-Bai said. Then it will be a misfortune. Anyway, we are just ordered to act. Let the monkey go to heaven. Nico's voice sank and said softly, too white for a moment, immediately understand. That's right, we have a debt and a debtor. We just act on orders. We must not lose our lives. Tai-Bai said. The two hit each other together. And then the figure flashed, and they directly performed their magical powers to control the remaining monkeys. Sir, stop. Sun Wukong, stop. The two spoke at the same time, but their words had no effect on the now angry monkey, and the monkey ignored them. Sun Wukong, if you try again, they will all die. Nico said. Sure enough, as soon as the sentence came out, the monkey's movements stopped. Sun Wukong, this is the will of the Jade Emperor, and rule I. If there is a kind, you will enter the heavenly court, and here you are fierce. Nico said. Yes, the great saint, we are just working. The real scenes are the heaven and the Lingshan. Tai-Bai also said. Stimulate grandson. Don't you dare to be grandson? The monkey's eyes were scarlet. Chapter 49:03. Chapter 49:03. Tai-Bai and Nico watched Long Fei's figure drift away, and there was a hint of conspiracy in his eyes. But at this moment, the monkey's voice appeared again. Long Fei, Waguishan will be given to you. Help me give the two of them uniforms. And my grandson owes you. The monkey's voice dropped, and then the whole figure disappeared completely, turning into a streamer into the sky. Long Fei in the void smiled slightly. He was originally a spectator and didn't want to get involved in things here. Moreover, by means of monkeys, he did not need to shoot at all, and an iron rod was enough to sweep these people. However, the monkey's current state is too violent, and he can't hear anything at all, and the other words will be used to draw away the anger in his heart. Therefore, the stand of Waguishan naturally became a matter of Long Fei. What Long Fei didn't know was that at this moment, when Tai-Bai and Nico Bodhisattva heard the words of the monkey, the light of relief that had just appeared on their faces disappeared. It turned into a bitter look, even more fearful than when I was facing a monkey just now. What? Long Fei is here? The expressions on the faces of the two people suddenly changed, and they turned into pigskin. The figure of Long Fei also appeared slowly at this time, breaking through the void and descending on the Huagua Mountain. Heaven? Lingshan? You're really looking for death. I haven't troubled you. You have to make trouble yourself. With a smile on his face, Long Fei looked at the dumb and ordinary people. Since knowing the existence of the Panga family, the balance in Long Fei's heart has tilted. Compared to the Panga family, the heavenly saints are not afraid, let alone heaven and Lingshan. In his opinion, no matter how stunned Tianting and Lingshan were, the snakes and mice were just struggling to death. When he really freed his hands, solving them was just a matter of convenience. After all, now that his cultivation has taken that step, coupled with the development of Dantian's power, Long Fei is confident to win the battle. Therefore, even if the Jade Emperor in heaven is not simple, He has already taken that step, and Long Fei didn't have any jealousy in his heart. He completely ignored it. Lord of the Dragon Court, this is our matter of heaven and Lingshan. It has nothing to do with your Dragon Court. Tai Bai suddenly said, Yes, Lord of the Dragon Court, don't forget now that our Lingshan has formed an alliance with the Heaven Court, and it has already been the grace of the great heaven. Nico said, For the fear of Long Fei, they have been deeply imprinted in the bones. For Tai Bai, the picture of Long Fei stepping on the Ling Shao is definitely the second life he never wanted to face. So at the moment Long Fei appeared, his spirit was broken, and he was frightened. As far as Nico is concerned, when Long Fei's hand, Taurine, stunned Lingshan, they had already lost their resistance capital in front of Long Fei. As long as Long Fei was there, they could only shrink back. Even before taking the command today, they never thought that Long Fei was with the monkey, and the relationship between them was not bad. Self-error? Think so much. Not to mention you. Even if the saint is in front of me, I dare not say these words now. I really don't know who gave you the courage. Long Fei raised his lips and said lightly, but at the same time, as soon as the power in his hand moved, a sense of great compassion emanated from him. Brush. As soon as Guanghua was in his hands, the entire barren hills above the Huagua Mountain were rejuvenated, and even the little monkeys who had died reopened their eyes one by one. Of course, for the people in Tianting and Lingshan, Long Fei was too lazy to waste their power to bring them back to life. On the other side, both Tai Bai and Nico saw Long Fei's means of expression, and their expressions were extremely shocked, and they were paralyzed to the ground. This power is too horrible. They are not at all reachable. It is not difficult for them to be resurrected. But now, everyone in Waguashan died under their power. But in this case, they can still be resurrected, which shows that the strength of Long Fei already has the terrorist power to reverse the world. This is the way of compassion. Impossible. How could you, an executioner, have this power? Tai Bai was just shocked, but Nico had fallen into madness and couldn't believe it. Long Fei smiled, slightly. This path of compassion was naturally obtained when he opened up the Dantian and realized the method of Guanyin. But Long Fei only took its essence and took only a touch of heaven and earth compassion. But even so, it is already a kind of Taoism. At this moment, using the power of Tao to revive some demon of ordinary practice is naturally easy for Long Fei. I'm an executioner? What about your Lingshan? The idea of enslaving and poisoning souls is the masterpiece of your spiritual mountains and heaven. Just like you, it is the real evil. Since death is evil, it is reasonable to die under mercy. Long Fei's voice was indifferent, but word by word, full of murder, every word spit out, like a thunder, fell on the hearts of the two. The next moment, no matter what their reaction was, Long Fei's sense of compassion flashed, and the two figures were instantly wrapped in this breath. And then the figures were directly entangled in the void and finally turned into a firework and completely collapsed. Then Long Fei turned his gaze and looked at the practitioners in Tianting and Lingshan. He was expressionless and also moved. Swipe. The sense of compassion swept across, and the figures of these people were directly annihilated and vanished. The whole process, but the blink of time. Long Fei, at this time, sighed slightly. Fuck, this kind of power is still a little unskilled. It seems that using Taoism to kill people is a waste, but it can be reserved as a killer. Long Fei thought in his heart. The figure moved and disappeared on the spot. At this time, Jiuxiao Temple and Lingxiao Palace. Yu Huang Duan sat on the top of the treasure hall, but Rulai had already fallen to the bottom. Rumble. At this moment, The roar of a tremor directly shocked the entire Ling Xiao Bao Jian. Jade Emperor's face changed. What's going on? Jade Emperor's face was embarrassing. He has now shown his true self, and Xiao Wei has already taken that step. However, he did not expect that someone would still dare to commit crimes to heaven. Your Majesty, it's not good. Then the monkey came to Tiangong again. A celestial was extremely panicked. Panic came from the outside, and came to confess. Monkey? Monkey King? Is something wrong? Rulai, is this what you say is foolproof? You better give me an explanation. Yu Huang said coldly. Rulai's face also became very embarrassing. She continued to slap her fingers and finally screamed, No, the people we sent to Waguishan have completely disappeared, and they have been wiped out between heaven and earth. Rulai's face changed slightly, looking at the lingering Ling Xiao Baojian in front of her eyes. Her eyes moved slightly, and she didn't know what she was thinking. Chapter 49:04. Chapter 49:0. For the heavens were turbulent and disturbed. Monkeys are no longer the monkeys of the year. The monkeys of that year made trouble in the sky. They didn't take the matter at all, because the monkeys of the year were just the cultivation of Jinxian. But now monkeys are different. Now, the monkeys have completely transformed, and it is definitely not an exaggeration to say that they are overriding heaven. Just by sticking it down, they are definitely not able to carry it. Alas! Rumble! It was also at this time that the figures of the gods of heaven were directly bombarded and scattered above the sky, forming a beautiful landscape with the fairy light of the void. At the same time, the building of the heavenly court also began to collapse layer by layer. Damn, why is this happening? Don't you let the white go down and ask the monkey, why did you come up to trouble the palace? It must be the bald donkey of Buddhism. Originally, according to Tai Bai's temperament, he would never dare to provoke monkeys. Fuck, these monks are making me bad. Countless gods began to growl, filled with endless anger. At this time, it was just over a month before Long Fei overturned Tiangong, and the monkey came to overthrow Tiangong again. This is already a shame to them. Unfortunately, in the face of monkeys, they now have no courage to shoot, let alone stop them. They can only watch the monkeys gallop and collapse the temple. At this moment, under the monkey demon body, the endless scarlet demon crisscrossed, circling outside the body, but his eyes flashed with fire, and an iron rod burst into a black mang. The whole person looks like a peerless killer, terrifying. Jade Emperor, come here, get out, and die. Monkeys are fierce, and the heavens are fearless. Now that he has killed Tiangong, he will naturally not shrink back easily. His purpose was to be the emperor and Rulai, and to make a fair return for Waguishan. Monkey, you are too presumptuous. Don't forget, how can you be so rude now that you are the Buddha of Lingshan? Yes, Dashing has something to say. Don't make a big disaster. Yeah, fighting the Buddha, this time, but my Buddha Rulai and the Jade Emperor have invited you to fight together. What a glorious thing. Just stop and don't make mistakes. Countless people said they were really scared, and as soon as the monkeys shot, the heavenly court would become a ruin directly. Disaster? Buddha of Lingshan? Shit, go west. Do you think the grandson doesn't know? Lao Sun, I just use your westbound bureau to complete my own way. Originally, if you were honest, your grandson would not bother to bother you. But now you actually let Tai Bai and Nico slaughter me Waguishan. Then today, you are doomed to be bad. Blood for blood, tooth for tooth. All die, the monkey whispered in a cold voice. And the monster was so mad that all these words were considered nonsense, and he would not care a word. And the next moment the monkey's voice fell. The monkey no longer paused, and shot instantly. Boom. a stick fell, and the Tiangong for dozens of miles was completely blown by a stick. One by one, the gods of heaven and the spirit of the Buddha in the mountains were pumped away, and there was no chance to stop them, and they died directly on the spot. The figure of the monkey continued. At this moment, no one can stop, and no one dares to stop. Presumptuous. It was also at this moment that a loud drink was uploaded from the void. Immediately afterwards, I saw the body of the Jade Emperor projecting in the void. Monkey, you are too presumptuous. This is heaven, not a place where you can spread wild. Yu Huang frowned. Shen said, one word at a time. It contains the supreme power and horror. Even the monkey at this time also had a footstep, and his eyes were condensed. Sure enough, I know that this old man is not simple, and he has already taken that step. And looking at the level of conciseness, it seems that it has already stood up for thousands of years. Alas, I am afraid that even the saints could not think of this. The monkey sneered, although Jade Emperor never shot, but just spoke. The monkey felt unusual. The monkey has now established his own way, already has his own way. Really out of the 3 realms, not in the 5 elements. Even if it is the power of heaven, it cannot be controlled, can be described as truly detached. Therefore, as soon as Jade Emperor spoke, the monkey already felt a kind of strength. It is because of this that the monkey stops. You know a lot. But what? I have to say that even the grandma did not expect that you could use the situation of the westward journey to find your own way. But unfortunately, any Tao is a trail in front of a widow, and it is vulnerable. Yu Huang said. Her voice was extremely scornful. Moreover, from beginning to end, his face did not show the slightest confusion, as if facing the monkey with absolute confidence. Speak nonsense. Never fight. Who dare to say invincible? The monkey's voice squeaked and immediately fell. Brush. The shadow of the iron rod swept across the void and swept away directly, approaching the Jade Emperor's projection. Just a little brute force, not to be afraid. The Jade Emperor projected a faint sound, and then the shadow was a little bit empty. Rumble. Suddenly, the void suddenly changed. Obscure forces condensed above the void, and finally formed a hollow in front of him. And the monkey's great strength before falling was directly swallowed up by this hollow. The monkey's expression changed. His eyes blinked. The widow has long said, your word is vulnerable. No one's strength can hurt me in the presence of the widow. Even a saint, now fearless in front of a widow, let alone a little demon monkey. Jade Emperor spoke again, lingering endlessly. In his eyes, he was already full of disdain for monkeys. Sun Wukong, the widow gives you a chance, and now surrender to my majesty. Fight the heavens for me, and wipe out the evil charm. How about waiting for the widow to dominate the heavens and make you of war in heaven? Jade Emperor's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he had boundless ends, watching the monkey, but the next moment he responded with a bang. The of war who went to Nima, the way of the grandson, is the way without boundaries. My way is an old grandson, an iron rod coming out step by step. Travelers know no bounds. Your word can be broken like the grandson. The monkey sneered again and again. The iron rod in his hand accompanied his voice and fell again. However, this time the power was countless times more horrible than before. Even if it was the projection of Jade Emperor, there was no time to respond, and it was wiped out with a stick. At this moment, in the Ling Xiao Bao Jian, Jade Emperor really opened her eyes suddenly. Presumptuous! A monkey dare to destroy me. What's more, let's let you see what despair is today. The Jade Emperor said coldly, and then the figure turned into a mist and disappeared. And Rulai in the main hall at this time also opened his eyes violently. Too strong, Jade Emperor's way. Really terrible. My power turned out to be flustered just by detecting one or two. It seems that no one can save the lives of monkeys today. Rulai said in surprise, her face horrified. Chapter 49:05. Chapter 49:05. On the Huagua Mountain, Long Fei hovered in the unknown. Originally, Long Fei was ready to leave, but suddenly his eyes looked at the sky. There was also an extreme desire in Dan Tian. Well, what's this? It was even more violent than the monkey's way, and this kind of induction came from Dan Tian. Long Fei's heart suddenly became excited. The appearance of this power turned Dan Tian into a happier and sooner than expected message. No, you have to go and see. If possible, this way must be in your hands. Long Fei made up his mind, and this is also his special strength after the development of Dan Tian. That is unity. Any kind of transcendence can be accommodated by the power of Dan Tian. This is the most terrifying place. Of course, this kind of power Long Fei wasn't sure at all, but it wasn't until the battle with the monkeys that Long Fei's Dan Tian had already imprinted the monkey's Tao fruit, so that Long Fei was determined. This kind of power, even when compared with the power of Dan Tian, derived from the dragon scales of the original Dragon Dominator, is still horrible. The power of any plane is dregs in the presence of the power of the transcendence. Therefore, at this moment, Long Fei will never let go of this force that can make Dan Tian burst into desire. For a moment, Long Fei's figure flickered into the sky. And at this time, Ling Xiao, the monkey, projected the Jade Emperor in one shot, and the whole person stood on top of the void. A dignified face. It's just a projection, and it's already violent to such a degree. If the real body exerts it, what is the strength? The monkey's tone was so solemn, but this thought just paused in the monkey's mind for a moment, then disappeared instantly. The next moment, the monkey was standing, and the iron bar was in his hands again. I am a walker, my way, and walkers are boundless. The boundless Amano can't keep my footsteps the way of Yu Huang, also dreaming. The monkey's eyes were like fire, and the whole body of Radon burst out instantly. And this time it's all. Even one side of the void became scarlet because of the monkey's riot. It seems that this place is no longer heaven, but has become a party of demons. The figure of the monkey also began to gallop away at this moment, and the direction was the Ling Xiao Bao Jian. Boom. But at this moment, above the Ling Xiao Bao Jian, a figure suddenly rose into the sky. Splash Monkey, you dare to cut me apart? Widowed today, need your life. Anger came. Immediately afterwards, they saw the annihilation of all things, the power of the broken world condensed behind Yu Huang, like a giant wave, rolling. Even monkeys are full of vigilance at this moment. This power made him feel boundless pressure. There is even an inexplicable feeling that breeds in his heart. That's the threat of death. The monkey's expression was so dignified that he felt that if he really played against the Jade Emperor, it was very likely that his own Tao would collapse under the impact of the other's strength. But the monkey still kept going. He has no retreat, and since he chose this way of walking, he can only go forward and never shrink back. Once he flinched, his path would only stop there, and it would never be possible to go any further. In other words, there is only one way in front of monkeys, and that is war. You want my life. You don't have this qualification. Walking stick. The monkey gave a loud scream, and the monster's body suddenly changed dramatically, directly transformed into thousands of feet in size, holding a huge iron rod, swept away. I don't know. The word of the widow is the 1,750 robberies that the widow has experienced. A random robbery is one which is enough to destroy the heavens and the earth. Monkey head, you're done. Jade Emperor's voice fell coldly. Then he stretched out his fingers. Creation. The indifferent voice came from the mouth of Jade Emperor. Immediately afterwards, a force of robberies emerged, directly transforming into endless darkness, and the monkey's stick was instantly resisted by the void. No matter how monstrous the monkeys were, it was difficult blast. Seeing this scene, Jade Emperor's heart is even more proud. Don't say it is you, even if the saint faces this power. If you don't use heaven, you can't solve it at all. Monkey head, let's die. Yu Huang spoke coldly, proudly, as if everything was in his expectation. Like a monkey under his power, he would be dead. But at this moment, the monkeys of Wanzhang's body suddenly emitted aura of light. Even the endless demon spirit was expelled, and it was replaced by a kind of fearless heaven and earth, the only transcendent air that I have exclusive respect for. Walkers are boundless. You created a robber. Can't stop me. This stick Kaijiang. The monkeys sang loudly. A walker knows no boundaries. It is boundless, and there is no end. Since there is no end, there is no power to stop it. Now, since the plague of creation is in front of him, the borderless way, as far as monkeys are concerned, is only destroyed. Boom, boom. Between the words, the iron rod that was hijacked by the creation over the void suddenly flashed, and then fell again. Rumble. A stick fell. The Jade Emperor's way was directly destroyed, and the entire void was restored to Qingming. But Jade Emperor, there was no change in his face. Looking at the iron rod that continued to fall, Yu Huang's expression remained indifferent. All beings, all ways, breaking the air. In Yu Huang's mouth, the magical word was formed, and one sentence represented a kind of Tao. At the moment, more than a dozen forces burst out, one after another sinking in the void, covering the monkey's stick again. In the monkey's eyes, he suddenly became shocked and confused, but immediately fangs screamed angrily, manipulated the strength of the whole body, and smashed again. Alas! Suddenly, the Jade Emperor's looting power collapsed. The entire void was shattered, and the endless sky palace was turned into ruins. If it were not for the support of the heavenly courts, I am afraid that the entire heavenly courts would be directly reduced to ashes under the scourge of these forces. At that time, even if it is the earth on earth, it will be implicated and turned into ashes. Walkers without boundaries? The good way is to pursue the ultimate strength. Unfortunately, it's not enough. If your practice can be furthered, perhaps even the widowed should be careful. But now it's useless. You can't even break 100 of my robberies, and the rest is dead. Yu Huang said coldly. At the next moment, his hands moved, and he said something in his mouth, the robbery of enlightenment. Jade Emperor's voice was cold and ruthless, with a proud look like the master who controls the life and death of life and soul. Boom! With the sound of the Jade Emperor falling, the monkey's iron rod could hardly get closer to half a minute, and even under the influence of this force, it began to be slowly lifted. Dead to the widow! The Jade Emperor sighed, and the power broke out. The iron rod hovering in the void was also bombarded directly at this moment, and the figure of the monkey fell together for 9 days. Chapter 49:06. Chapter 49:06. The entire heavenly court is silent, and among the endless ruins, it is obviously ruined, and it has been announced that there has been an extraordinary and terrible war. But the people in heaven did not have any sadness on their faces at this moment. There is only respect and humbleness. The Jade Emperor is mighty. I have known for a long time that His Majesty Jade Emperor's shots must be directed towards him. What monkeys and dragon courts will be a joke. Look, let me say, I am at the top of heaven and earth, and no one can shake it. Long Fei can't, neither can monkeys. Countless gods began to slip away, seeing the violent violence of the Jade Emperor. Their fear had long disappeared. I have to say that now the Jade Emperor is no longer hiding. This kind of robbery power is indeed invincible, or the monkey will not be defeated by him. The expression on Yu Huang's face was silent. Her sense of arrogance was supreme, and her long sleeves flung. There is a widowed person. The heaven is boundless. The demon monkey is so arrogant. Not to mention a monkey. Even if the Lord of the Dragon Court came, he had to die. Yu Huang said coldly, "Is it?" But at this moment, a voice appeared. Not who could Long Fei be? Long Fei's side also followed the monkey. However, the monkey is now seriously injured, and apparently has been injured by the Emperor's looting power. Long Fei. Jade Emperor's face sank. The moment before, he also said that even if Long Fei came, he would die. But unexpectedly, in a blink of an eye, Long Fei actually appeared in front of him. Unexpectedly, the deepest hidden part of this mythical world is actually you. Robbery, 1,750 robberies became the Emperor of the Jade Emperor, and now using this power to become his own Tao, it is really unexpected. Long Fei said, lightly. Even Long Fei was shocked at this moment. The way of Yu Huang was unexpected, and the level of horror was beyond his cognition. If the Jade Emperor had shot the last time he had troubled the heavenly palace, I was afraid he would not be able to carry it. And even if he was able to survive by chance, I am afraid that he did not have the opportunity to come to this point. You have more things than you expected, Lord of the Dragon Court. Now you come to my heaven. Do you want to see the power of the widow? Yu Huang said coldly. At this time, when the monkeys retreated in the First World War, Jade Emperor's heart was at the time of arrogance. Even in the face of Long Fei, there was no fear at all. Jade Emperor, it seems you are really confident. Do you think your robbery is really invincible? Sneer. Robbery is even stronger than what Long Fei has encountered now, including the 3 emperors, winning hooks, and monkeys. But it is much weaker than winning, compared with his own world Dantian. It is fart. Otherwise, the perception coming from one's own Dantian is not desire, but fear. Widows are naturally invincible. Now, under heaven, my way is invincible. Don't think that when you had the capital to fight against the saints, you could ignore the heavens. You are far behind. Yu Huang said. Long Fei was a little surprised. However, if you think about it, in the First War, the people in heaven only knew that when they battled with the saints, they didn't know the result. After all, no matter whether it is Long Fei or Sage, it is already an incarnation of Tao. In World War I, no one in the world can promote it. In addition, after that, he also reunited the lead in the pantheon, and the heavens and the earth did not show an unexplainable vision at all. Therefore, in the eyes of Jade Emperor, he was just fighting the saint, and he didn't know he had killed a saint himself. However, Yu Fei's arrogant attitude made Long Fei very upset. Robbery is strong, but not strong enough to make Long Fei afraid. He dared to stiffen even Tiandao, not to mention the emperor's own robbery. At the same time, the monkey at the side couldn't stand the tone of Yu Huang either. His voice sank and said, Yu Huang, are you really invincible? I fight with Long Fei. If Long Fei wants to suppress me, one move is enough. The old sun has cut through hundreds of you. How dare you say you are invincible? Would you like billion? The monkey cursed. Being seriously injured by Jade Emperor made the monkey a little unacceptable. Seeing Jade Emperor's arrogant tone at this moment, she couldn't help getting angry. The Emperor's expression was condensed, and his eyes flew directly to the dragon to freeze the dragon. He knew that monkeys didn't keep their mouths open. It was not necessary, and it was impossible to say such words in order to hit themselves, because at this time Long Fei was too calm. And the presence of Long Fei at this moment shows that he may have seen a battle with the monkeys long ago. If you really see your own power, you can still maintain such a posture, which shows that there is no fear in Long Fei's heart. It's impossible, but he has just established his way, but I have been doing it for thousands of years. Is his way really more terrifying than my strength? Yu Huang's heart guessed. His eyes grew stronger. But now, it is difficult to ride a tiger. What makes Yu Huang even more annoyed is that at this moment he didn't speak, and the gods and gods all over the sky have clamored. Splashing monkeys have been suppressed by Yu Huang, and I don't know how to repent. Do you think it's still useful to say this now? Just talking. Amitabha, the Lord of the Dragon Court, is not so terrible. It is definitely not His Majesty's opponent. If Yu Huang really shot, Long Fei would be suppressed every second. Yes, Demon Monkey, if Long Fei is really so powerful, he will still be standing here now, already shot. Gods and Buddhas are moving, but they are all Jade Emperors. But what they didn't know was that at the moment Jade Emperor wanted to kill them with a robbery. The reason he was silent was hesitation. What means did Long Fei have? Even if possible, he didn't want to start with Long Fei now. But the words of the gods of the heavens fell. But it was the retreat of the Jade Emperor, which was sealed directly. Long Fei also smiled at this moment. Okay, since you want to watch me so much, I'll do it for you. Hope that will not let you down then. Long Fei said, the smile on his mouth gradually solidified. The next moment, the blade of the king appeared directly in Long Fei's hands. Since you used your brute force to defeat the monkey, now I will use your monkey's borderless way to break you. Borderless Kowloon Royal. After a heavy drink, Long Fei slowly lifted the blade of the king in his hand and waved it out. Rumble. 9 dragons appeared in the air. However, this dragon has long been different from the past, and each one is tens of thousands of feet in size, covering the sky. Long Ying's past drowned even the heavens and the earth, making the entire sky above the sky dark, as if falling into endless darkness. Because this knife is no longer a pure system power, but also uses the way that Tian Tian Xiu is with the monkey. With this method, Long Fei has confidence, breaking all methods, destroying the dead, and suppressing the heavens. Chapter 4907. Chapter 4907, Rumble. A loud roar appeared above the heavenly sky, deafening. As soon as this kind of power came out, the gods and gods of the heavens were directly stunned. The pressure of terror made them have no courage to resist, and they were silent. The emperor is first and foremost. Yu Huang's face also became extremely pale at this moment. How is it possible? How is it possible? This is the power of the monkey. How can you use the power of the monkey? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Jade Emperor lost her voice and couldn't believe it. The road of detachment, one by one. There are 3,000 roads outside the heavenly road. Very few people can find their way and take that step. It is precisely because of this that there are not many people who have become detached now. In other words, it is impossible to have the same Tao power which 2 people have at the same time. But now, the emergence of Long Fei has broken this eternal convention. Not only does he have the power of monkeys, he can even fuse monkeys into other powers. This method is called terror. Long Fei's expression was still indifferent. The more flustered Jade Emperor was, the more stable he was. The monkey below was shocked at the moment, just like the Jade Emperor, full of doubts. But I also know that now is not the time to ask. When Long Fei wants to tell him, he will be able to know. Nothing is possible. All yours are impossible, but your own helplessness. Moreover, after today, the robberies will no longer be exclusive to you, and will also become my strength. Long Fei said indifferently. As soon as this remark was made, Jade Emperor's face was directly covered with fear, which was very different from the previous arrogance and transcendence. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Break through. Destroy. Creating God. The next moment, Yu Huang straight away. Robbery of robbery. 1,750 robbery. Stop me. Jade Emperor's voice was almost roaring and roaring. Long ago, there was no initial calmness. Under the Jade Emperor's methods, the entire void became extremely magnificent. 1,075 roads of robbery gathered together and directly devoured the sky for more than half, and wrapped the figure of Long Fei in the robbery. This kind of scene is like an overwhelming sky. That is, the monkeys felt the coercion for a while, but in the end, they resisted with a ruthlessness, using their own strength. Long Fei, be careful. The monkey reminded. At this time, his power had no effect. He could stand under the coercion of the Jade Emperor's power. It was already the limit, and he could not shoot again. He could only remind him by speaking. What he didn't know was that at this time, in the center of many robbery gatherings, Long Fei was still standing upright, holding a long knife, and standing on top of the royal dragon. 1,750 calamities. The Jade Emperor is really terrifying. This kind of power, even if it is better than the power of the heavens, doesn't give up much. It is really deep. Long Fei whispered to himself. In the face of this kind of power, even before opening the Dantian, even Long Fei could only retreat without even hard capital. But now, even if it is terrifying, Long Fei won't take it seriously. The development of Dantian's power has enabled Long Fei's cultivation to reach the limit of the detachment stage. Even if the cultivation is established, it is still a detachment. But Long Fei believes that he is now comparable to the realm of life after detachment, and the Jade Emperor, no matter how strong, can never reach that level. Thinking of this, Long Fei pulled out his mind and started the system. The next moment, the data of Yu Huang was directly analyzed on the system panel. Excessive Boss, Lord of Heaven, Emperor Haotian. Repair 4, Detachment from the 8th Heaven. Doctrine, 1,750 robberies. This is the information presented in front of Long Fei's eyes. It is not as pure as before, because to the extent of Long Fei's existence, basically raising hands is ruining the world. But it is also possible that someone will be killed in the backhand. Therefore, even the system does not dare to do an exact analysis. Exceeding the 8th, or a boss. Unexpected joy. Long Fei was startled. Then he took a closer look and just saw the Jade Emperor's robbery force, a flash of gold. Brilliant! Suddenly, Long Fei came to spirit. Originally, he was only interested in Jade Emperor's Taoism. Now that the boss information has been presented, how could Long Fei let it go? I haven't seen the boss for a long time. I must not let it go. Do it! Long Fei sank, without any hesitation. Between the backhands, the power broke out completely. Boom! With the launch of Long Fei's force, a blade of Daomang cut through the sky instantly, whistling away among the Emperor's robbery. Boom, boom. For a moment, two forces collided together, and the Emperor's looting power could not hold Long Fei's means at all. Under the length and length of the long knife, the entire encirclement was cut directly by a knife. Do not! The Jade Emperor roared. His face looked as if suffocated. Terrifying. I said that you used robbery to suppress monkeys. I used the boundless way of monkeys to break your countless robberies. Jade Emperor, you are done. Long Fei said lightly, but the long knife in his hand did not stop. Cutting a gap with one stab is not what Long Fei wants. What Long Fei wants is to completely disperse the power of the Jade Emperor and let the heavens witness their strength. It's also for monkeys. He wants to tell the monkey that it is not his wrong way, but that the Emperor's cultivation is now far above him and has reached a level that can crush him. Even the saints may not have the Emperor's cultivation at this moment. However, in front of Long Fei, all this is false. He now has Dantian power and system power erupting at the same time. Even if the other party is at the peak of detachment, it is a solitude. Only in the realm of life can it threaten Long Fei. As Long Fei's sword was cut out, the power of the Jade Emperor's hegemony also collapsed, which was directly collapsed by Long Fei's sword and disappeared. On the contrary, in the whole void, the figure of Long Fei seems to be ancient, as if he is the master of your heaven and earth. Finally, when the last robbery was cut by Long Fei, the figure of Jade Emperor was instantly backswept and fell directly above Ling Xiao. Long Fei, you. Jade Emperor shook his hands, facing Long Fei, already full of fear. I said, chop you today with the word of the monkey, and chop you with the word of the monkey. As for threats, you don't need to say more. This mythical world has no longer threatened my existence. Die. Long Fei opened his mouth indifferently, stepped forward with the knife, finally came to the front of Yu Huang, and then the knife fell. Ding! Chapter 49:10. Chapter 49:10. The sound of the system suddenly appeared, falling into Long Fei's mind. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for besting the boss Jade Emperor, gaining 9,999 experience points, eternal life value of 999 points, and invincible points. Ding! Congratulations to the player for 1,750 robbery. Ding! Congratulations to the player for the Jade Emperor crown. Ding! Congratulations to the player for gaining authority over the world. Ding! Congratulations to the players. The ding system sounds continuously, but the latter ones are not very useful. Just the first few are still useful for Long Fei. Especially the force of hijacking is exactly what Long Fei needs. And with the emergence of the system's voice, it also clearly shows that the Jade Emperor is dead and cannot die anymore. After all, this was beheaded with the force of transcendence. Even his power was exploded. Naturally, there is no hope of living. Not upgraded. Long Fei froze. Anyway, it's a boss. Long Fei thought that this boss could already be upgraded, but he didn't expect it to be even worse. Although it is only a little bit worse, it is quite different for cultivation. But it's not bad. By then, as long as you can kill the next level, you can upgrade to the next level, maybe you can reverse the situation. Long Fei thought in the heart, but thinking of this, Long Fei's heart also raised a doubt. System? When the system was just finished trimming, didn't it mean that there were 3 levels in each stage of transcendence, command, and eternal life? Then the Emperor Yuxiu, why is there an 8th sky? Long Fei asked, puzzled. The 3 levels mentioned by the system are levels for players. Different world systems have different titles, such as the Emperor Yu Huang's transcendence of the 8th heaven. In the world of mythology, it should be called the 8th heaven of harmony. In order to facilitate the player's understanding, the system is translated based on its own strength. The system responded, I see wood mechanical. For a time, Yun Longfei felt stunned. At this moment, he missed the system girl again. If the system sisters and children now, they will give themselves a precise explanation. However, the system's response also made Long Fei understand that the so-called transcendence of life and immortality is nothing more than the division of the system for the system itself, which is still aimed at the heavens and earth or the supreme plane. In other words, one's detachment from one level now is equivalent to the state of amalgamation in the world of myth now. If I say that, I have taken it for granted before. For fear of winning now, it is just a state above the Tao, but it is far from reaching the level of command. Long Fei thought. Before that, he developed the power of Dantian. Long Fei was confident that he had reached the height of winning. In self-calculation, he also believed that he had the ability to fight against the realm of Siming. But now that the system is so analyzed, Long Fei understands that this is not the case at all. Even more likely, the most horrible existence in this mythological world, like the Panga family, may not reach the realm of death. Thought of this, Long Fei was silent. Those who practice spiritually have endless roads and endless roads. If they want to climb to the top, they can only move forward step by step. Of course, Long Fei wasn't an uneasy person either. He suppressed this idea in his heart, and then looked around and looked at Ling Xiao. It runs really fast. Under the eyes of eternal life, Long Fei saw through the scene within the sky. There has long been no such figure. Don't think about it. You must have seen Long Fei's shot, and you knew in your heart that it was absolutely impossible to carry it. So it went straight away. However, Long Fei didn't bother to chase, but turned his eyes to the world. The next moment, Long Fei was so angry with Dantian that he said, "Suddenly, the Jade Emperor is gone, and the heaven is gone. My Long Ting replaced it today, occupying 9 heavens and holding thousands of people." Long Fei said loudly, and this voice is also spread to the world in an instant. At this time, between heaven and earth, the demon clan is located. What? Is it Long Ting? The court of heaven was destroyed. The towering heavens, if they say they are gone, why are they so fast? It's impossible. I haven't seen Long Ting's daxing swordsman at all. Why did it suddenly disappear? Among the demons, no one dares to believe. I can't believe Long Fei's words at all, because until now, they are still immersed in the dream of the demons reappearing the world and becoming the master of the sky. But now, once it was destroyed, in the Battle of Long Ting, there were countless deaths and injuries of the demons. Most of the Millennium Dormants were hollowed out. Later, Tian Ting and Ling Shan united, and they were even ready to dormant again. When Long Ting and their defeated them again, they came out again. But I did not expect that the result will be so. Heaven was defeated, and it was easy. It's Long Fei, it's terrifying. Now Long Fei alone has the attitude of overwhelming the world. Invincible. Can't provoke. Absolutely can't provoke. And Nyang Nyang disappeared now, certainly because of Long Fei's sake. So now we the demon tribe must bear it. Yes, anyway, my demon tribe has been silent for countless epochs, and this time is not bad. Under Kuan Peng, several demon gods of Shen clan said in a deep voice, "At this moment, the meaning of hegemony in their hearts has disappeared. Nothing else, just because Long Fei's name has become synonymous with terror in their hearts, and they dare not face it anymore." Especially in the hands of Long Fei, the means of refining the demon gods into Dan even made them tremble in their hearts. Su Peng groaned slightly and nodded fiercely at last, apparently having agreed with the demon's proposal and withdrawing from the battle for hegemony this time. However, what they didn't know was that their opponents were never Long Fei. The same happened to the Wu people. Among the witches, it was also a shock at this time, and everyone's faces were full of fear. A word from Long Fei directly stirred their minds, so that the last expectation in their hearts was completely destroyed. Oh my God! Hasn't Lingshan already joined hands with heaven? That's why it didn't stop Long Fei's footsteps. It was too scary. You cannot be an enemy. You must not be an enemy. Fortunately, there are big witches in my tribe who once had a relationship with Long Fei. Descendants, go to Long Ting again, and tell Long Fei that we surrender." "Yes, we surrender." Long Fei is a master who dares to be a tough man even if he is a saint. It is not shameful to obey his ancestral, which even if he submits to him. Among the witch clan, one big witch said one by one, "The head is naturally the princess of the ancient Wu tribe, Jiufeng." Jiufeng also nodded faintly, then looked at the person around him, and said, "Xianlu, your son, she was beheaded in a mundane world. In fact, I have already deduced that it is related to Long Fei. Can you really let go?" Jiufeng asked. The person questioned by Jiufeng changed his face at the moment. "What is Long Fei?" Shangliu's face changed greatly. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Shangliu. After all, this is also the big witch of the Wu tribe, and everyone has to be cautious. At this time, the monkey also flew over the sky, watching Long Fei with a look of shock. "I was able to use your strength when I was so weak. What do you think is impossible?" Long Fei said, lightly, not explained much. His dantian is definitely a big secret. Not that he didn't trust the monkey, but that it was something he didn't know how to explain. Especially remember that the Sisters of the System once said that their own dantian may be more mysterious than the promise of the promise, and more like the existence of the supreme plane. When it comes to these horrors, Long Fei thinks it's better not to say. The monkey was also a stunner, thinking that when he first saw Long Fei for the first time, Long Fei was weak and fragile, but now he has become a combat force over him. "You're strong, you're right about everything. However, you may have done it too simply this time. You actually destroyed the Jade Emperor directly, so that my grandson would never have the chance to find revenge in the future." The monkey said, looking at the rundown Ling Xiao. He kept feeling. "Nothing to hesitate. Heaven and Ling Shan, I will die sooner or later. If it weren't for some things, I can't take action against Ling Shan. Right now, Ling Shan has long been history." Long Fei said calmly, and this sentence is true. Thinking of this, Long Fei suddenly thought of Jiang Luer in his heart and couldn't help asking, "Monkey, you and Jiang Luer traveled west then. Where is Jiang Luer now?" Long Fei asked, since the three emperors said that Jiang Luer was very implicated with the human race before he destroyed Lingshan. He finally found Jiang Luer, and Long Fei naturally would not turn a blind eye. "The little monk. To be honest, I don't know." At the beginning of Lingshan's closure, the old son also contacted him. But later, the little monk didn't know what Mingwu had realized, but he went directly to Nirvana and re-entered the world. Even his grandson couldn't stop it. Maybe now it's not necessarily dead. The monkey said that his eyes were full of complexity, and apparently he had deep feelings for Jiang Luer. Long Fei's eyes changed slightly, but he shook his head and said, "Relax, Jiang Luer's fortune will not be so shallow, and he will never die so easily. But leave it to me, and I will find a way to find it out. As for now, the heavenly court has been destroyed. My dragon court naturally wants to stand on the top of Jiuxiao and deter the sky." Long Fei Xinjin said, "The Jade Emperor is gone. The gods and gods fall." Long Fei's words have already been announced to the heavens. Long Ting stands on the sky and naturally becomes a foregone conclusion. Yeah, it's too inconvenient for the old grandson of the province to go to your Long Ting. I suffered a war in Waguashan and just needed to change the environment. Said the monkey, "No, I have revived your souls on Huagua Mountain in my way. As for Long Ting, don't let them come." You also know that in the near future, I will be the last line of defense. Long Fei said, "Waguashan's demon monkey, although already practicing, but the strength is simply not enough. If the war really broke out, they were afraid that they could not even bear the aftermath of the fighting, and they would have to die. The monkey had a happy look and looked at Long Fei with a little gratitude. Okay, that old grandson will return to Huagua Mountain again, and when they are done, they will come to Long Ting to come to you. Said the monkey, "It is good," Long Fei said with a smile. The next moment the monkey flickered and went straight to Huagua Mountain. Long Fei wasn't idle, and his eyes flashed. The limit of power, the walker has no boundaries. It just comes in handy now. Long Fei is still embarrassed to take the shot if the monkey does not leave, but now that the monkey has left, Long Fei can rest assured. The cornerstone of Xianmen up. Long Ting is lucky move. Heavenly luck melt. Long Ting, get me up. Long Fei sang angrily, and with his hands above him, there was endless black light. And this light also descended directly from above Jiuxiao and fell directly on Long Ting. Rumble, rumble. The next moment, the entire Long Ting stood up, suspended above the void, under the control of Long Fei's power, directly out of the ground, and headed for Ling Shao. Chapter 49:12. Chapter 49:12. After half a month, the world was silent. As Long Fei entered the main heavenly court, the heavenly court also completely changed its face and became a dragon court. At this point, the dragons have also evolved. Nearly 70% of the dragons have awakened their ancient talents, and their cultivation has increased dramatically. With the physical strength, it can already be compared to the realm of Taoism. Tens of thousands of dragons soared above the sky. The real dragon was 9 days. In fact, not only them, but also the Tushan fox have also made huge improvements. However, after all, it is only a Qingqiu catalog. Even if the spirit fox family has a long history, there will not be any changes against the sky. But even so, they already have the strength of 6 tails, which is comparable to Tai Jingxian. But for them, Long Fei is not too harsh. Tushan Xiaorong has rebuilt Tushan. After all, in the future, the first battle will be Long Ting. Long Fei will not let them fall into crisis. Of course, as for the Bone Legion in the Long Fei System Core, as well as the special existence of the Legion, are still being cultivated. Long Fei also exchanged divine costumes for the existence of the Alliance in this half-month, and the combat power doubled. As for the Avengers, Long Fei also corresponds to the weapons he wants to match from the Legion system, and has also been greatly improved. However, Long Fei still immersed them in the system to cultivate. In this half-month, Long Fei chose to retreat again. The purpose of the retreat was also to study the Emperor's robbery. 1,075, seemingly superb, is actually too scattered. 1,750 robberies, flowers, and whistles simply blend together directly. This power is worthy to call robberies. In the secret room, Long Fei closed the retreat, merged the Jade Emperor's Tao into one, merged 1,750 gangsters into one, and finally reshaped in Dantian. At this moment, although Long Fei's repair did not break through, his combat power was doubling. Originally, Long Fei also offered to win the hook sword, and his strength would be too thin. But the development of Dantian's power directly saved Long Fei from worries. It even brought endless surprises. Now, among his Dantians, in addition to the compassionate way of compassion, the Emperor's robbery, the monkey's way of walking, and his own way of life, together with the 3 emperors' innate taiji, humanity, and the way of salvation has been studied again. All in one. This horror is definitely not comparable to the realm of Taoism. In other words, the people in this mythological world are just one, but Long Fei is countless. Of course, this is definitely not the end. Instead, it is just beginning. My lord, descendants of the Wu tribe visit. At this moment, Outside the closet, Tushan Xiaorong's voice appeared. Long Fei froze slightly, feeling a little bit. Tushan Xiaorong's perception power is really unique, and she is able to know that she has gone out. Otherwise, with the mentality of Tushan Xiaorong, it is absolutely impossible to disturb yourself. Boom. The next moment, the door of the closed place opened suddenly. Long Fei's figure stepped outward. The descendants are here. It seems that the Wu tribe is really keen, but Long Ting has just erected 9 days ago and can't wait to run. Long Fei said with a smile, "This is inevitable. Compared to the demon, the witch is still very wise." According to the adult and the ancient emperor had a clear division of labor. It is impossible for the demon clan to hide away. Even if they choose to die now, it will not help them. In the presence of the emperor, there is no way to escape. Tushan Xiaorong said. Long Fei made no comment. He was too clear about the winning faction. If it weren't for his large-scale military training in the local government now, I am afraid that the witches and demons would have perished long ago and no longer exist. However, Tushan Xiaorong is right. If the demons now choose to surrender, there may still be a hint of vitality. But unfortunately, when they chose to die, they directly cut off their only way of life. Then how do you know that the witches come to vote? Is there vitality? Long Fei asked. I don't know, it's just a feeling. Even if the ancient emperor is even more powerful, the protagonists of this era are still only adults. An adult is a variable in this world, a person outside the Tao. Therefore, their mortal situation, the only way to crack, lies in adults. Tushan Xiaorong said. Long Fei nodded. At least, from the current point of view, under the world, the only possibility is to let the winner give up the plan to destroy the witch family. I am afraid he is the only one. Although there are legends, winning has something to do with the Wu tribe. Even the original Tai sword was obtained from the race left by the Wu tribe, but that was just a layout for winning, and it didn't explain anything. Moreover, Tushan Xiaorong said it right. Long Fei also didn't want the witch to destroy the tribe. One is because the descendants did have kindness to themselves. The second is that Long Fei is now interested in the power of the witch. The 12 ancestors of ancient times swallowed the sky and destroyed the earth, and they could do everything. In addition, all the gods are in a great array and can reproduce Pangu real body. Long Fei naturally also wanted to find the power of the Pangu tribe from the witch tribe, so as to improve it in a targeted manner to face the future war. As soon as he thought about it, Long Fei said directly, "Since it's here, look at what he said. If the witches really came to surrender, it would not be impossible." Long Fei said. Then Tushan Xiaorong took the lead to leave, attracting descendants. However, Long Fei was immersed in the system space slightly and saw Tushan Xiaohong, who was still asleep, and his eyes were soft. Rest assured, it won't be long before I will set foot on the supreme plane. Complete the task at that time, like you are born again. Long Fei said lightly, but in his words, he revealed extremely firm convictions. Then, Long Fei turned back. At this point, the descendants had been led by Tushan Xiaorong, entered the main hall of Longting, and came to Long Fei. Meet again. Long Fei said softly, although he has now destroyed the heavenly court and replaced it, in front of his descendants, Long Fei did not show any arrogant expression, but was as original. If it is not a descendant, Long Fei may even be able to escape from the difficulties of Long Batian now. Descendants can make a difference today. Yeah, see you again. It's just unexpected that when you meet again, you will actually destroy the heaven and replace it. It's incredible. This kind of thing, my witch family has been planning for tens of thousands of years, but it has not been implemented. But it is not as good as you. Descendants said with emotion. Long Fei is too domineering. Everything is relying on his hands, giving birth to a piece of life. Long Fei smiled slightly and didn't say much. At this time, the descendants looked at Long Fei and said solemnly, "This time, the Wu tribe let me come. But you don't have to worry, it was me who surrendered. I hope you can give the witch a place to stay." The descendants said that there was no pride on their faces. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.